not sure if... Yeah, there we go. Sup, ladies and gentlemen, Akalon here, and of course, welcome back to each and every one of you. It is... What day is it today? It's Thursday. It's Thursday. So, it's almost weekend. Actually, for many people, at least in South Africa, it is weekend. It's a long weekend. It is Easter, so happy Easter to all of you that might not be watching later on, or might not be watching the rest of the weekend. Yeah, happy Easter to all of you. I don't know if every country in the world does this. In South Africa, at least, Easter weekend is a long weekend. Like, it's a super long weekend. Because I'm pretty sure tomorrow is a public holiday, if I'm not mistaken. Hold up. Let me just make sure about that. I think so, but I might be lying to you. So, yes. So tomorrow is public holiday, Good Friday. Then you have Holy Saturday. Then you have Easter Sunday. And then on the 10th, Monday, you have Family Day. So it's basically like a massive, massive holiday. Yeah, this is basically a Friday. Plenty of people out and about. Alderson, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, because on Monday, so our Easter weekend is from Thursday afternoon, you know, whenever you finish work. Most people finish work quite early on Thursdays. And then you have Friday off, and then you also have Monday off. So people are only going back to work on Tuesday. This is quite the intimate group of 4. How you guys doing? 4 of you? Jesus. That's too many. I need at least 3 of you to fuck off. This is going to be an intimate stream. And now I've arrived. How you doing, Abaddon? I even asked Tuesday off, so extra long weekend. I feel like a lot of people in South Africa do that automatically. Like, they'll just take, like, the Thursday off as well. And then maybe, like, the Tuesday. So they go away. I know, for example, here in Cape Town, we have, like, a lot of people visiting from out of town over the weekend. And it's people sort of taking, like, a quick week holiday. Just coming down to the beach and doing things. I hate it. Because now the beach is infested with out-of-towners. And they're so weird, man. They I don't know. They break the intimacy of my morning coffee. You know, I like having morning coffee. So every morning of my life, I go down to the beach. I have my kiosk where I buy my coffee. I know the guy that works there. I know him and his wife. We chat. They know exactly what I want, so I don't even have to ask. I literally arrive. I go, "Sup, Rupa? How you doing, man?" And he's like, "Usual." I'm like, "Yeah, please." He makes me my mana brew. And then, you know, about usually 5-10 minutes later, Kim shows up. She's one of the girls that we hang out with there. Usually about 5-10 minutes later, Nigel shows up because Nigel walked his dogs on the beach. And then we have Steven that shows up. Usually either before Kim or just after Kim, waiting for Nigel to show up. And then we sort of hang out there, you know, and we chat. And here and there, there's people walking past, you know, some people jogging. You say hello, you know, as they're jogging by. But it's intimate. Whereas now for the last 2 days on the beach, it's the usual crowd. But then there's also like a shit ton of other people that we've never seen before. It just destroys the beach, man. They have to go back home. I would have, but saving those vacation days for summer. Not going to lie, dude. That sounds like an absolute lovely way to live life and start your day. Abaddon, it's what I've been doing for the last... let's say year almost, like less than a year at this point, but almost a year. It started because of the gym, right? Because I go to the gym at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, I'm done with the gym. And in order to get home, I have to drive by the beach anyway, every morning, right? So just stop at the beach, have a coffee, hang out, chat, and then go home. It's really nice. I love it. It's so tranquil, having the ocean in the background, just waves crashing, you know, the smell of ocean air. It's really lovely. Really lovely. I'm looking forward to getting some garden furniture as I want to start my day eating breakfast out of my garden. I don't eat breakfast. Yeah, that wouldn't work for me. I mean, you could always come down to the beach and grab a muffin. They do sell muffins there, if that's your thing. But yeah, I think it soothes my soul, if that isn't too tacky or corny or cringy to say. You get something from it. I don't know how to explain it, but sort of calms you down, right? You had a busy night, was working, just got home from the gym, or just got done with the gym, and then you get to the beach, and it's sort of like this, everything just stops for like an hour. No time's going by. There's nowhere you have to be. You just sort of have to be here in this moment and just sort of hang out, which is really good. Going to the beach always. Does that agreed? Unimate, yeah. It has I mean, it's something about the water. It's something about the ocean, the air, the beach. It just has like an incredible effect, at least on me. I don't know if I would be able to do my days without going to the beach. Spectre, how you doing, bro? And it's also the people, you know, the fact that you have friends there. Because I've made friends now with so many people at the beach. Like, just standing there every morning, the amount of people that I say hello to that I've never spoken to. Like, I've never really had a conversation with them, but because I'm always at the coffee shop, and they're always sort of walking past or walking their doggos or jogging or whatever, you just say hello, you know, because it's sort of like we're in this together. We're all here at the same time, so yeah, it's nice. But that's actually where I got into my conspiracy theory kick. I don't know, the whole day I've been in the mood to watch some conspiracy theories, so I thought, why not? We're gonna watch some conspiracy theories. I didn't even get to finish my fucking video. This is how much I love you guys. I still had like a good, what is that, 10 minutes left of the video? A little bit less. But I thought, I'm going too long. I have to just start streaming. I haven't even finished this video yet. So you guys need to feel, I don't know, honored or some shit. No nice beaches up here in the north. Plenty of nature though. How's the north where? You mean north like in Scandinavia north? You could finish it now while we wait for numbers coming in. I don't think any of you would give a shit about this, Abaddon. I would have watched it live, but I don't think a single one of you would give a shit about what these guys have to say. This is like League of Legends shit, right? You can't honestly sit there and tell me that some crappy ass League of Legends talk show is better than us. By God, Waste, it's my favorite team, right? And it's one of my favorite League of Legends crappy talk shows. So it's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting, not gonna lie. What's the difference between ooh and ah? I don't know. Is there a difference between ooh and ah? Wait. Ooh would be... Like, ooh would be in reaction to something happening that surprises you. You know, so, yeah, in that sense, Abaddon, I can actually agree with that, right? About a couple of inches. So, for example, if you had a 6-inch dick and you stuck it in, the girl might go, ah, that's nice, right? But then you stick in an 8-inch dick and she might go, ooh, because that's surprising. It's nice, but it's also surprising. But then she may also go, ooh, when you have a 2-inch dick. She might go, ooh. As in, I'm but worried. I'm not feeling anything, yet I can see this guy going, right? So ooh and ah, I would say ah is more like an acknowledgement that something that is expected has indeed happened, whereas ooh is surprise, good or bad, right? Go God, how you doing? They talk again? Of course. Why would I talk about anything else? Naka has destroyed the joke. Let us move on. Plague Park, Helsinki Zoo goes stuff the church and grass and getting into NATO. You know me what? I don't know. Oh, right. I know exactly what you're talking about. Never mind. For a second there, I was like, wait, are you just listing random shit here? I just almost had a school shooting. Jesus, Robot. What happened? I can fucking imagine. Dude, you want to solve school shootings? Get actual... get like actual armed guards at the schools. Easy fix. Because no one is going to take a fucking gun to a school where there's armed guards, right? Because you're guaranteed going to be shot to fuck there. That should fix the problem right away, I think. But wait, did they use the weapon or just bring the weapon, Robo? Because if they just had the weapon, well, schools are technically gun-free zones, right? So you're technically not allowed to have. So I guess that's a thing. In the form of 3 cops, they are carrying weapons. I wouldn't use cops, necessarily. At least in South Africa, I wouldn't use cops. We just have guards, like actual security guards that are armed to the fucking teeth. I had an armed assailant drill and take notes on how well the college does. Everyone in the 2 builders that I was in charge of taking notes for failed bad. Oh shit, that's not good. Heathen History Gaming, how you doing, fam? Thanks for the 100 bits, man. Really appreciate that. Heathen History, we may watch your video tonight if there's time. I still have it on my list, but I got into a bit of conspiracy theory this morning, and a guy was telling me this morning at the beach about some like giant conspiracy theory going on. Something to do with, is it the Denver airport or some shit like that? And he was telling me about this, and I was like, ooh, this sounds interesting. So I want to watch that. I want to learn about this Denver airport situation. Apparently there's something sketchy going on in Denver in their airport. I don't exactly know where Denver is, but I know what a fucking airport is. I'm not a moron. Then Echo tells him about the backside of Azeroth and the intro cinematic. Yeah, I don't think he would care. To be fair, Abaddon, I don't think he would give a shit about that. Colorado. Yeah, I don't quite know where Colorado is either. I know it's in the US, but where the state is located in the US, not exactly 10-4. Your states are weird, man. There's too many states. It's very difficult to know where the fuck they all are. And it's very difficult to know all 50. Like, is there anyone in this chat that can actively name all 50 states without Googling? So no Googling. But tell me if you can name all 50 states. We did it like this. Can we watch this after mine? Because it's a cut and dry thing. And afterwards, we can use any amount of time needed for the conspiracy. I have to be into watching it. Heathen History Gaming. The last thing I want to do is react to a Warhammer video when my mind is somewhere else, right? So I'm not trying to fucking do you dirty or anything like that, but I also don't want to give you a react where I'm sitting here watching your video and I'm constantly thinking, I wonder what's happening with that Denver airport situation, right? Because then it's not going to be a good react. Because I'm sitting here dreaming about some other video that may be happening. But what we will do is we'll still hang out for a bit and talk, and I might change my mind. I don't know how I'm going to feel 5 minutes from now. Yesterday, when I started the stream, I thought to myself, I want to play some World of Warcraft. About 10 minutes into the stream, I went, nah, fam, I don't want to play World of Warcraft, it's fine. Shit happens. You know, so I might change my mind. Let's see what happens in about 10, 15 minutes from now when we finally do get into Reacts. On Heathen and telling him it's rain. How am I pissing on Heathen? Wow, how am I doing that? Did I tell him I'm never going to react to his video? No. I just said I don't know if I'm going to react to it right now. Jesus. Sheep when I say that not every theory can be true? Some, but not all, or even most? Aldezen... Yeah, I think some conspiracy theorists take conspiracy theories way too far, right? But at the same time, I think there's far too many people that don't believe any conspiracy theory just based on the fact that, oh, you have no proof of that. As if the government wouldn't hide certain things from us. Right? Change your mind. Jesus, dude. How much is 500 bits a game? Holy shit, Heathen. This new job must be paying really fucking well, right?
I last bribed you to watch those other Dark Angel stuff. It is a re-bribe.
Wait, didn't we? No, we reacted to your Dark Angel videos. Heathen History, I'm pretty sure. Did we not react to all of your videos? Like all of your Dark Angel stuff? I'm pretty fucking sure we did. Like you requested a bunch of videos, and I think we reacted to all of it. I remember because I actually fell in love with the Dark Angels after reacting to your videos. That's when I realized, shit. Dude, the lion is a beast.
You look like you've lost.
This is the one of two you have not reacted to? Ah, okay.
Exactly.
That makes
this
sense.
Is one of two you have not
That makes
reacted
sense.
to.
I have a Warhammer problem.
You look like you've lost some weight. That's terrible. Have a dump.
This and the Ritual of the Damned.
Ritual of the Damned.
All right, we will watch them. I promise, we will watch them. But anyways, I want to talk about a bit of a Warhammer problem that I have. So, I'm not assuming that everyone in this chat has read The Dark Imperium, but I think some of you have. I know, for example, Heathen History, you have. And Avedon, you may have had as well, right? Now,
That one is 53 minutes,
here's
and
my...
you wouldn't manage to watch that today.
Not
Smiley
necessarily.
face.
It's not that I have a problem because the lore doesn't make sense. It's more that I'm not entirely sure. So you have Kalia, right? And Kalia, well, they kind of claim that Kalia is a saint, but not quite a saint. And yet, even after Gilliman, like even after Kalia saves Gilliman. Now, let's quickly see if I can find that passage, and you guys can tell me what the fuck am I wrong about this, or am I just not? Is there something I'm not seeing? Hold up, this was a long ass fucking chapter. I was reading for a while. Okay, so here's the thing, right? So the Emperor, they believe that the girl is a saint, right? And Iolanth is a sister of Battle. She basically betrayed Gilliman. She killed a space marine. We read this yesterday, right? We read this specific passage yesterday. And Iolanth forced this girl to move up to where Gilliman was, and she actually managed to save Gilliman. Now, I want to read you this passage so that you understand just what this fucking girl, just how powerful this girl is. Before I get to that that passage, let's just see. I don't want to. All right, so here it is. The Imperium is effectively, Gilliman's guard is effectively losing the battle. Not so much losing, they're waiting on Galatan to arrive. Galatan is still en route to Parmenio at this point. Now, Galatan, for those of you that don't know, is a giant sort of space station. It's massive. And in fact, it is so huge that it throws the entire Parmenio almost in shade when it moves between it and the sun. So this is a giant space station. It was attacked by Typhus, and I believe, based on the lost passages, that Typhus was ultimately injured by the Grey Knight captain, one of the captains of the Grey Knights, managed to kill, or not kill, but wound Typhus, and this pushed the Death Guard off of Galatan, and Galatan ultimately did stay within Imperial hands. Paito, how you doing, fam? Thanks for the first time chat, really appreciate that. But up until this point, so Galatan is still en route to Parmenio. Parmenio is under heavy occupation by the Death Guard and Nurgle's forces, and Guilliman and his soldiers are effectively being overwhelmed at this point. Guilliman has been trapped by Mortarion. So basically what they did was they used the warp and a drop of Guilliman's blood to bind Guilliman, and then Mortarion came down, and him and Mortarion had this massive back and forth conversation, and ultimately, you know, Mortarion kept saying, you worship a dead god that doesn't even speak to you, that doesn't do anything for you, my god is alive, and whatnot, and you believe a lie and all the rest of it. But Mortarion is at the point now where he's ready to kill Guilliman, and here is the, I want to give you guys this, right? So then, at the height of desperation, she came. A young woman walking through the press of sorcerous evils, as if she negotiated a market crowd. A lone battle sister walked at her side, an escort who had become a herald. The girl was lit golden and walked lightly. Though the ground was churned to mud, her feet left no imprint where her companion slipped and struggled. The Saint of Tyros, he whispered to himself. He could not think of any other word. Time slowed. The sound of the battle retreated to celestial distances. His spear ceased moving. The fight went from him. The girl took hold of something inside him that made him forget where he was. Her eyes were hollows and her skin blotched. Atop her head, her hair was coming out in hanks. The white shift she wore was marred by burns. She was falling apart, but around her was a soft lambency that grew as she neared the two Primarchs, filtering between the combatants, setting the mist aglow, turning it from something foul to a net of glorious light. Colquhoun's gaze could not leave her. The conversation of the Primarch brothers faded from his hearing. The creature fighting him ceased to be a concern. He could have died then, killed by the demon. But the Neverborn too was enchanted. The fleshless septum of its nose quivered as she walked past. It raised a quivering finger and spoke in a hissing bellows voice, creaking and choked with grave dust.
Possession by the Emperor is one hell of a
Anathema. This is what the demon says as he's looking upon this girl. Anathema. One word. It swam across the air, wafting towards the girl, as soft as silk carried off on the wind. Time slid to a stop. Atoms stopped their motions. Light hung unmoving in the air. Sprays of blood made solid arches over the field. Bolts hung mid-flight. The candles of their propulsive units stilled. An eternal cold gripped Colquhoun. Only he, for reasons he did not know, could look about him freely. All warriors were locked motionless in a tableau vivant. Guilliman strained in bonds of living light. Mortarion had his scythe raised over his head. But although all things had ceased their movement, so that the universe was trapped within a slice of a moment, as insubstantial as a dream, the girl still moved. She turned her head and looked at Colquhoun. In her face burned golden eyes, as old as time, and from her mouth sprang the luminance of a star. Within his honored helm, Colquhoun's mouth fell open. "My lord," he whispered. Damn time broke through, crashing reality's clockwork back into motion. Once more, the progression of events proceeded upon its unstoppable course. Everything had been stopped, rushed to make up lost seconds, and occurred at once. So basically, the girl destroys the bonds of Gilliman, right? She destroys the bonds of Gilliman. She destroys most of the demons in an instant, just sending out waves of light. The demons literally can't deal with this shit. Mortarion, being the little bitch that he is, decides, fuck that, I'm leaving. And he tells, in a final sort of speech, he tells Rabute Gilliman, I will face you, Rabute Gilliman, said Mortarion, upon Ajax. Follow me there, where we shall do battle the final time. We shall finish this, you and I. Your life will be forfeit, and I will take your kingdom for my own. On Ajax. Gilliman then screams and fucking gets angry and whatnot because he wants to finish the fight there and then. And then you have Septicus 7, the death of one of Kugat's generals. Which was also interesting, but I don't want to read this part for you guys because that's not actually the thing that I want to focus on. The thing that I don't get is this last bit. So here's where Gilliman finally comes to his senses and he kind of gets, a little bit chill. And Gilliman says, then we will soon know who has won and who has lost, said Gilliman. He looked for the source of the light that had freed him. All he saw were bodies lying before the bulk of the Leviathan. Its guns boomed. It seemed huge now. The fog had gone. The gull, said Gilliman. It was the gull who freed me. Yes, my lord. How did she come here? He asked. Does it matter? Said Colquhoun. He motioned up to the star fort, black against the sky. Yes, it does, Tribune. It matters very much. I must find her. Come. They located the gull a few minutes later. Sister Superior Iolanthe, pale-faced with blood loss, sat next to her. The gull's body was ruined, but by whatever had a hold of her, but it breathed. Her chest rose and fell very slowly. Death was coming. Her eyes had burned away. Her lips were scorched black around her teeth. Nothing mortal could contain that much power for long. She was out of place on the battlefield, but otherwise looked like an uncountable innocent. But otherwise looked like the uncountable innocent dead Gilliman had seen on worlds the length and breadth of the Imperium. He knelt by her and took her tiny hand in his massive gauntlet. Leave me, said Gilliman. Colquhoun turned away, motioning his men to stand back. She lives, Gilliman asked the battle sister. For now, answered Iolanthe. How did she come here? I brought her, said Iolanthe. My orders were that she remain in Tyros. Sometimes the Emperor dictates unpalatable actions be taken. And now she will die, said Gilliman. You care for her death? You do not? Are you not concerned she might be an enemy trick or a dangerous psyker now, my lord? Iolanthe was bitter, past caring about punishment. All I see is a dying gull, Gilliman said. Whatever she is, or was, she was in the first instance a child of terror. He looked skywards at Galatan's underside filling the sky. Lights shone where fighter craft dealed one another, dodging, weaving, firing, exploding in frantic dogfights. They were utterly insignificant next to the Star Fortress's mass. In a few moments, we will either be victorious or obliterated, he said. Tell me, sister, do you think this is the best mankind can hope for? Do you believe we can ever survive and know peace? Iolanthe was surprised at his question. He looked at her earnestly. I have faith, my lord. Faith? Yes, my lord. Faith in your father, Gilliman nodded. Sometimes I wish I had faith. The gull groaned and turned her eyeless face towards him. Are you the Emperor made flesh again? The gull asked in a quiet voice. Her wounds seemed worse now. Now she was conscious. The words were mangled, barely comprehensible. I am not he, said Gilliman. He made me. I am his creation. I am his son, the 13th and only Primarch, Rebute Gilliman of Ultramar. You look like him, she said. Though she was blind, she sighed. A smile spread over her face. I have seen such wondrous things. Who are you? Gilliman asked. Magnus. He hesitated before voicing the hated word. Father? So she doesn't answer him. She dies shortly after this. Even throughout all this, though, like, after seeing all of this, this is where my question comes in, my problem comes in. But I need to get to that passage first. Hold up. Okay, so here we go. In orbit on the Macragge's honor, an atmosphere of a different sort prevailed. In closed conclave, Gilliman had the highest officials of Battle Group Alphas sat in judgment of Irelanth. He upon his throne, they in chairs of black steel, arrayed in a semicircle around him. Irelanth wore a simple dress. Not unlike the shift Kalia had died in, her hands and bare feet were monocled, but she held up her head proudly and looked Gilliman unflinchingly in the eye. You admit that you disobeyed my orders, said Gilliman, and that you did so to release from custody the girl Kalia of Tyros. I do, my lord, said Ireland, though only to save you. And your warriors murdered my servants in commission of this crime? They did so at my orders, my lord, said Ireland. Did anyone else encourage you upon this course of action, said Gilliman. No, my lord. Do you swear? I do. By the Emperor of Mankind? I do, my lord, she said. I swear by he who sits upon the golden throne. Very well. Gilliman swung his monumental head about to stare at Matthew. His face was set with such stony hostility that Matthew's soul crumpled. Lord Provost Undi Ramus, I believe it says. Wait, is the stream dying? It's back, right? Yeah, I don't know what happened there. The internet sort of had a bit of a hiccup, but we are back, right? When's the last, what's the last you heard? Last 20 seconds. Froze for a second, right when you were about to read the passage. Okay. So, Gilliman basically, he says to her, they did so at my order, my lord, said Ilanth. Did anyone else encourage you upon this course of action, said Gilliman. No, my lord. Do you swear? I do. By the Emperor of Mankind? I do, my lord, she said. I swear by he who sits upon the golden throne. Do I need to go back even further for Monocled? When was that? All right. I know where we are now. Okay, I'll start from there again. In orbit on the Macragge's honor, an atmosphere of a different sort prevailed. In closed conclave, Gilliman and the highest officials of Battle Group Alphas sat in judgment of Irelanth. He upon his throne, they in chairs of black steel, arrayed in a semicircle around him. Irelanth wore a simple dress, not unlike the shift Kalia had died in. Her hands and bare feet were monocled from here, right, is where we cut out. But she held up her head proudly and looked Gilliman unflinchingly in the eye. You admit that you disobeyed my orders, said Gilliman. And you admit that you disobeyed my orders, said Gilliman, and that you did so to release from custody the girl Kalia of Tyros. I do, my lord, said Irelanth, though only to save you. And your warriors murdered my servants in commission of this crime? They did so, at my orders, my lord, said Iolanthe. Did anyone else encourage you upon this course of action? Said Gilliman. No, my lord. Do you swear? I do. By the Emperor of Mankind? I do, my lord, she said. I swear by he who sits upon the golden throne. Very well. Gilliman swung his monumental head about to stare at Matthew. His face was set with such stony hostility that Matthew's soul crumpled. Lord Provost, Undiramus, please tell this court what the penalty is for treason. Gilliman continued to glare at the militant apostolic. Gilliman's chief of arbitrations stood from his seat. He was an old man, retired from the frontline duties for many years. His hawkish eyes looked upon Iolanthe without mercy. No one who defies the holy will of the imperial regent can be permitted to live. For defying you, she should be condemned to death. And for the breaking of her vows under Ministorum law, death by immolation, death by fire? That is the penalty, my lord, said the chief of arbitrations. Matthew could feel Gilliman's anger surging under his calm exterior. He was a volcano ready to erupt, but all the Primarch displayed was a curl to his upper lip. Matthew was glad when the Primarch returned his attention to Iolanthe. Do you repent, Sister Iolanthe? I have nothing to repent, my lord, said Iolanthe proudly. I will not ask for your forgiveness. I defied you, but I would do it again without a second thought were the moment to come again. And even were that moment to present me many other choices that would save my life, for the sake of my soul and the Emperor's love, and for your sake, my lord, I would take the child to the battle. So be it, said Gilliman. Pronounce my judgment. For the crime of breaking the order of the Primarch, death, the Lord Provost said. The room was silent. For the crime of murder, death. For the crime of endangering the person of the Imperial Regent, death. For the crime of unleashing an unsanctioned psyker, death. Gilliman stood. His presence grew beyond his stature, smothering the breath from Matthew's lungs. You shall be treated fairly for your prior service, he said. He motioned to a pair of his Victrix guard. Take her away. Make her death quick and clean. The Space Marines led Iolanthe from the room. She looked dead ahead, her head still held high. Gilliman stared about. Clear the room. The lords and generals of Gilliman's staff got up from their seats, bowed, and departed. Matthew made to leave with the rest. Not you, militant apostolic, said Gilliman. I will remain, by your command, Imperial Regent, said Matthew. He went to sit again. You will stand, priest, said the giant Moldavar Colquhoun. The tribune had a savage look on his face that made his noble features ugly. Alone in the room, he was armored, and he pointed a golden finger at the space vacated by Sister Iolanthe. Year, he said. Tetrarch Felix glanced at Gilliman. They shared a look. Felix nodded the slightest amount. Matthew had no idea what passed between them. Had they condemned him earlier in private? Was he to be executed? He steeled himself against the possibility. There was no better death than one suffered in service. He would be brave. Tetrarch, ensure I am not disturbed, said Gilliman, and that this chamber is shielded against all forms of surveillance. Shut off the Vox and Vit thieves. This conversation will go no further. Colquhoun, you are to remain as sole witness. You will write a sworn account of what is said, which shall be duplicated, sealed, and deposited with the Inquisition on Terra, the High Lords, the Council Exterra, and my own archive. In the event that the Adeptus Ministorum decides to elaborate upon this event for their own purposes. My lord, said Colquhoun. Felix left, the doors hushed closed. Gilliman waited for a signal from Felix. When a chime notified all present that privacy protocols were in place, He looked upon his priest. Matthew flinched at the force of his animosity. "What have you got to say for yourself, militant apostolic?" "Sister Irelanth acted under her own recognizance, my lord. The true servants of the Emperor recognized the girl for what she was, and rushed to aid you." Gilliman took a step forward. He loomed over the priest. "You will not ever lie to me again, militant apostolic," he said plainly. "You are lying to me now. You even convinced Sister Irelanth to lie under oath. By the throne, man, what deviousness is present in you?" "My lord, if I may." "You may not." Gilliman's shout was sudden and terrifying. "This was your doing," he said, calm once more. "A good man lies dead. My warriors turn upon one another. A champion of the Emperor is grievously wounded. Another is executed. And all this for no other reason than your arrogance. You believe yourself to be better informed than I. I want you to understand now, that is not the case." "I swear, Irelanth did not act upon my orders," said Matthew. Gilliman growled deep in his throat, an inhuman sound that should never have emanated from so perfect a being. It struck fear into Matthew that he could not hide. Gilliman snorted in contempt. "You disobey my orders again. You lie. Confess you were responsible." "My Lord Regent," Matthew began. He looked into Gilliman's eyes and saw the fury that would consume him if he dared deny again. "You saw what happened," he said instead. "Confess, preacher," said Gilliman. The heat of anger coming off him beat at Matthew. "Tell me that you did it. I want to hear you say it." Matthew took a step backwards. "Did you not see? Your father was on the field, working through the child," said Matthew. "She was a vessel for your father's power, chosen by him. His will worked through her." He retreated further as Gilliman advanced on him. "She threw back the demons. No child could have done that. A golden light issued from her. The Emperor was there. He was with you, all around you. He helped you win." "The Emperor is with you," gabbled Matthew. "Was he now?" said Gilliman. "You were not there. I saw unbounded physical ability let loose. It could have come from any source, not least the gods who are rival to my brother's patron." Gilliman leaned forward. A vein pulsed in his broad forehead. "You speak, you priests, as if you know my so-called father, as if you are privy to his will and his word, as if he would speak through the likes of you." His fist clenched. Out of his armor, he seemed more dangerous. "You have never spoken with him. Not one of you damnable fanatics has ever exchanged so much as a word with the Emperor. Not one. I lived with him. I fought at his side for a century. I studied with him. I learned of his dreams for mankind from his own lips, and I raised my sword and spilled my blood to make them a reality." "But there are visions. There are lies," shouted Gilliman. "I am the only living being to have spoken with the Emperor for 10,000 years. 10,000 years, Matthew, and yet you dare to suppose you know his mind? You priests burn, maim, and condemn on the basis of supposition. You practice your barbaric religion in the name of a man who despised and wanted to overthrow all these things. The Emperor's purpose was to lead us out of the darkness. You, Frater Matthew, you and your kind, are the darkness." He turned his head aside in disgust. "These feats of faith can be explained by the workings of the Empyrean. No god need be invoked, and if one is, it is rarely the thing that is called upon. There are beings in the warp that hearken to such entreaties. I assure you they are not gods, and the Emperor is not one of them. None of what you believe in can be trusted. None of it." His voice rose to a condemning shout that echoed off the marble walls. Colquhoun looked shocked. Matthew was battered to his knees. He bowed his head and cowered. "My question is, after everything that Gilliman had witnessed, why can he still not believe that it may have been his father? Why is that so difficult for him to believe? Knowing how powerful the warp is, knowing that technically speaking, the Emperor could be a god within the warp, why can the Emperor not? Why can Gilliman not see that? I get that he's atheist, but even the most hard line of atheists, upon seeing a literal miracle happen, would take a step back and be like, oof, I don't know about this. Zombie Killer, he might be smart, but I mean, there's also such a thing as sort of believing something even when all other evidence points against what you believe. That his father could be doing it with the power of the warp, but that doesn't mean he's a god.
Because
I think Gilliman takes objection.
Siege, for example, pretended
It's possible.
to be the Emperor, doing wonders and stuff just to reach some hidden objective.
I know that Zeech can do that. I know, for example, also that at the moment that the forces of, I believe it was Korn, almost beat Gilliman, it was Zeech that interfered and almost saved Gilliman because, well, the great game had to go on, right? And they couldn't let Korn's forces win there, so they basically just thought, fuck it. Now's the time to attack, so to speak. So I know that this can happen, but in this specific instance, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I could deny wholly that the Emperor could be a god. There's too much shit that happens, bro, that just makes you think if he isn't a god, some weird crap is happening with humanity. Abaddon, there is a problem with that. The chains that they had bound her in would basically block her from using warp magic. So this is something that I don't know if you guys know this, but they chained her with some kind of machine that blocks all warp magic. So if she was a psyker of Zeech, how would she be able to use any magic? Because she was blocked from the warp. And yet, even with those chains and that device attached to her, she was still able to repel the demons. And the demons themselves called her anathema. Unless, of course, this is like a weird double-double switch, where Zeech pretends to be the Emperor and the other demons pretend to think it's the Emperor.
Oh, the Emperor is a god by the Chaos God's definition, alright. It's just that the Emperor doesn't agree with the definition of God.
Yeah, but God is God, whether you agree with it or not, right? If you can literally sit on a throne thousands, or if not millions of miles away, and basically repel an entire demon army, you're a fucking god, right? Kazragor, how you doing, fam? Can you tell me what I must read for Warhammer lore RPG books? Can you provide a link? Thanks. Kazragor, you're asking the wrong person, right? I'm also just getting into this universe. I haven't gotten that far. This is my second ever Warhammer book, and I didn't even start at the place where most people would say you should start, with the universe. Now, according to what most people tell me, this is where you need to start. Most people say this is a good place to start with Warhammer because it gives you sort of the human perspective of the Warhammer universe. Eisenhorn, I believe he's an Inquisitor. And yeah, it sort of discusses in the grim far future, the Inquisition moves amongst mankind like an avenging shadow, striking down demons, aliens, and heretics with uncompromising ruthlessness. Written by Gaunt's ghost creator Dan Abnett, this volume charts the career of Inquisitor Gregor Eisenhorn as he changes from being a zealous upholder of the truth to collaborating with the very powers he once swore to destroy. Part detective story, part interplanetary epic. This omnibus brings together the novels Xenos, Malleus, Hereticus, and the Magos, as well as 4 short stories. People say you should start with this, because this is like it's like one of the best ways to get into a bit of a broad overview of what the universe is like. Because he basically goes, he's an inquisitor, so he's gonna deal with probably all of the chaos gods. He's gonna deal with a lot of the Xenos races and stuff like that. So it probably really helps. So yeah, I would probably start with this. Although I didn't start with this, I started with the Dark Imperium book, and I'm very happy that I started there because it is a phenomenal fucking book. Read the Star with the Doom of Kavsvar to understand the beginning of chaos. Yeah, but that's sort of the fantasy shit. Even though I know the chaos and fantasy are sort of this, or 40k and fantasy sort of the same for the chaos gods. But yeah, just pick your favorite faction or legion and then follow their books. I think there is sort of, so I was lucky enough that you guys suggested I watch some Warhammer videos. And we managed to land on Bricky's video that sort of covered the briefest of mentions of every single one of the factions or races within the within the galaxy. Short of that, I think you do need a book that gives you a broad overview of what the universe looks like before you dive into individual Primarchs and stuff like that. It's all 40k, right? Amazon Prime makes a season with the ex-Witcher, I heard. Yeah, it's, no, okay, so Casual, there's 2 Warhammers. There's Warhammer Fantasy, or mostly you'll see Age of Sigmar stuff, even though there's probably older shit as well that wasn't Age of Sigmar, but all of the new stuff usually says Warhammer Age of Sigmar, and that's fantasy. And then you have 40k. These are 2 different universes, both called Warhammer, but different universes entirely. They're not linked, at least canonically. There are people that want to make arguments for why they're actually the same universe or whatever, but most of it isn't the same. Horus Rising, cool to see how the Imperium started. You could probably do that as well. Personally, I'm a 40k fan, but that's due to personal preference. So I've always been more into sci-fi than what I am into fantasy. I would rather watch Star Trek than Lord of the Rings. Even though I love both, and I'm currently rewatching all of the Lord of the Rings books, I prefer sci-fi. So Warhammer sort of scratches that sci-fi itch for me, which fantasy wouldn't, because fantasy is more sword and shields, magic, and all the rest of it. So yeah, for me, I just prefer the Warhammer 40k setting a lot more than I enjoy the fantasy setting. Alien is also pretty good, yeah. Not all of it. Some of the Alien movies were stupid, but yeah, some of them are really good. There's 4, Warhammer 40k, Warhammer Fantasy, Warhammer Age of Sigmar, and Warhammer The Old World. It's still basically fantasy, right? Until you get to the hover thrones of the Fat Boy Slan. And the cameraman never dies. She's like thinking, who? Queen Ripley. Oh, yeah. Oh, I know what you mean. Yeah, she just, I don't know, she's eternal. Ripley. Fantasy and the Old World are the same setting. Yeah, that's why I said it's basically 2 universes. It's fantasy and 40k. Because it doesn't matter that it's not technically the same story. It's set in the same world. It's set in the same universe, whereas 40K is set in its own universe. Is a reboot kind of fantasy? I don't know. It depends on what you like most. So do you prefer sci-fi more or do you prefer fantasy more? Heathen history, yes, but Horus Heresy would still form part of the history of 40K, because you can't get to 40K without Horus Heresy, right? Twisted Ash, it's 40K that has the Astartes warriors. I like both, just want... I'm into it at the moment, I guess. Is this an EU channel? Citron, how you doing, fam? I don't know about that. I don't think this channel is really... I mean, technically speaking, this is a South African channel because that's where I live. But I mean, anyone can be here. It's not like I only allow European viewers or only allow American viewers, right? Yeah, I don't give two shits. I don't give two shits where you're from. We're all fucked together anyway, so what does it matter? Is it fake European? Fuck you, Cesius. Fake European. Bro, I have papers that prove that I am from Germany. Fake European, you my ass, bro. I have the actual papers to prove that my family arrived here from Saxony, Germany in 1838. Do you have your papers proving where your fucking family came from? One thing I noticed in WoW, in Deepholm, where Lothlorien was trapped in Kata, there is an interesting skybox with stars and a tentacle. Oh yeah, I think I know exactly which one you're talking about. I think I know exactly which one you're talking about. It's literally a white man. I wouldn't say that's not... Twisted Ash, that means nothing here in South Africa. I'll tell you what, there are mixed race people in South Africa that if you didn't know, like if they didn't tell you that they're mixed, you would never fucking know. You wouldn't know. They look white. They're absolutely white. And then when you talk to them, you find out, oh no, they're mixed. So I wouldn't say just because someone looks white in South Africa, you can go, yeah, they're clearly white. Right? Because that is not always the truth. Although then again, if you're saying they're European, I would argue almost all colored people are European in South Africa. Yeah, probably. I don't know. All I know is I'm one of the many descendants of Paul Kruger from my grandmother's side. Jesus. So you're kind of like royalty or some shit. No, yeah. I mean, if you think about it, it's actually one of the things... I spoke to my brother about this the other day. It's actually one of the things that I feel really sad about for colored people in South Africa. And by the way, if you're from America and feeling, oh my God, he's being so offensive, in South Africa, the word colored is not an offense. Colored people call themselves colored people. So, shut the fuck up, I guess. But I feel like... For all the evils, right, that apartheid was, and don't get me wrong, apartheid was incredibly evil. I would argue its biggest evil was what it did to the colored people of South Africa. Because the colored people of South Africa are the children of white people. They're our family. If they would not have existed if it was not for us. They are our children, quite literally. And yet... the powers that be decide, nah, fuck them, fam. They're not white enough. And I told my brother, that is just... I mean, and now in the new South Africa, they're not black enough. And so like, well, they're also the children of black people, right? So it's kind of like, what are you doing? This is just like taking evil to the next level, because you're also fucking over your own kids, your own descendants, in a way. I don't know. It was just a weird thought that came to me. The Dark Lord, by the way, 5 community subs. Dude, really appreciate it. Hearts in chat, ladies and gentlemen. Hearts in fucking chat. Hateless Horse. 5 months, part of the DJ Nation. Appreciate you, fam. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It is unfortunate, CCS. Because when you really break it down, it is like you're shitting on your own family.
You look like you've lost some weight. That's terrible. Have a dumpling.
Actually, all this talk about race is tiring. The Emperor already cleared that one up. There is just one right term for all humans. It's cannon fodder. Smiley face.
True. Heathen history, very, very fucking true, bro. It's sort of like, as Ireland explains it, people misunderstand the line the Emperor protects. Because the Emperor doesn't protect humans. The Emperor protects humanity. Right, that's it. Dude, don't apologize. Holy shit. I actually felt super bad for not being able to get to you. But I tell you what, the Dark Lord. When we're live again, as I said yesterday, we're probably not going to be live again this weekend because it's Easter weekend. I'm probably going to spend some time with family and stuff. But when I'm live again, regardless of whether it's Q&A or not, if you're online, just let me know. I'll drag you into Discord and we can have a chat. Can't do it today because I have a shit ton of stuff that I need to try and get through. But I'll do your theory even if it isn't Q&A, because you wanted to have your Q&A discussion and you just went offline at a very inopportune moment. So yeah, I'd be happy to get you into Discord so we can discuss your theory. Jumbo, how you doing, fam? But why do you have anime titties on your phone, Jumbo? Can I get a moment of silence for Jumbo? Not in terms of showing respect, but in quiet judgment for him having anime titties on his phone. I was researching things. Have a section for being a furry. Well, Jumbo can't do that. He's a weeb. You can't have weebs going after furries. What the fuck? That's madness. It should be all of us going against the weebs and the furries. Dark Lord, that is a good excuse. That is a good excuse. Wife must always come first. Man of culture. Fucking hate you. Wait, so you guys actually think that's Giga Chat, having anime titties on your phone? Why not just have actual titties on your phone? You do know, right? I don't know how much I'm allowed to say about this on Twitch, but I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. There are sites on the internet. One of them actually rhymes with doorknob. It's not doorknob, but it's kind of like doorknob. Where you can go and you will see actual real titties. Like proper real people titties. It doesn't have to be drawn. It doesn't have to be cartoons. You can actually see proper titties on the internet. I don't know if you guys know this, but it is there for all of you anime lovers out there that have anime titties on your phone. Because we're a bunch of nerds, alpaca. Stop flaunting your Giga Chat easy pickup artistry at us. Want to get actual titties and not phone titties? Actual titties is like very expensive. Whether you're paying for it directly or indirectly, it is very expensive. It's far cheaper to just get it on Hub. Anime titties are artwork. Maybe. Not all, though. I would say the hentai that I have on Patreon, I would say that's fucking art. I would actually say that that's good. I'm not even necessarily, like, that into that shit. And I've even been blown away by the fucking artwork there. It's not actually meant to be a plug. It's the truth. Like, I think Priest on Art is doing a fantastic fucking job with that shit. It's genuinely not meant to be a plug, but it kind of is, because it is very fucking good. Just, he took very long this month. Like, fuck me, he took long this month. I was actually getting a little annoyed at how long he took to get the artwork to me. But in the end, it all worked out. So, you know, it's good. Hey, you guys completed a Eskimos train. Fuck. Voice, bro. Okay, let's see here. So what you're saying is, your supporters are less men for looking at the hentai you put out? No, because my hentai is actually good hentai. It's actually fucking artwork. I can't show it, of course, because I'd get banned, but it is actual artwork. The Dark Lord, we've done that theory before, because a lot of people look at the light or the color scheme of the cinematic, and that color scheme is also very much just what you see from Earth Magic. Earth Magic looks exactly like that. So it's possible that a bargain may have been struck with the light, and there's other pieces of information for why that bargain may have been struck by the light. But I wouldn't say that color scheme in the cinematic is the sort of gotcha that a lot of people think it is. Just because he caters to you creeps doesn't mean you creeps are right. Apocalypse. There's a more profound question, I think, that needs to be asked. If it gets your pee-pee hard, right? So if it makes your pee-pee stand at attention, can it be wrong? Because that's actually the only reason you watch porn, right? So whether it be anime titties or real titties, as long as it gets the job done, that's really all that matters, right? Also, I should point out, as long as what you're watching has been drawn by someone of consenting age and also contain people of consenting age. So let's just throw that in there before people start going really balls to the wall with the gutter fucking thought processes. Can it really be wrong? No, of course not. That's what got Jimmy Savile and Bill Cosby into trouble. Yeah, but again, you're now, you know, you're not taking into account my very specific rules on what you are and are not allowed to watch, right? I have a new question if you are down for another topic. It's about Wallo, though. For Oxita, how you doing? You can, but we're about to react to Voldemort's Guide to Warhammer. So maybe wait until after, and then you can ask whatever you want. But this video has been highly requested, and also I was bribed to watch this video. So, you know, it's money. I will do anything for money. So, you know, have to do this. Otherwise, people are going to go, wait, I shouldn't give him money because he doesn't watch my shit. And that would be terrible as a business plan. What you want to do is just keep them, you know, on edge long enough so they give you money, yes, and then keep giving you money. That's what you want. That's right. You have to play it just right. You know, that's just how this works. All right. So this is called Warzone Pandarax in Warhammer 40k. It's, you know, the last time I watched a Voldemort video, I was absolutely enthralled with it. To the point where there was very little, like, actual discussion. So I'm assuming that's probably going to happen again, because this guy is just, I don't know. This guy is just absolutely fucking phenomenal.
Welcome, gentle listener. I am Voldemort, your faithful servant, and I wish to introduce you to the major events of the Warhammer universe, the grim darkness of the far future, where there is no time for peace. There is only time for war. And today, as it is still August, and as close as I get to a rest period until January, we shall continue with some entries that I feel are important, but that certainly do not require a rewrite. As I always say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But first,
Well, that may actually be the fucking motto of the Imperium. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Even though they haven't invented a single new thing in thousands of years, fine, it still works, let's go.
possibly the most important advert I will ever put on this channel, for it is a matter close to my heart. Let's do this. Are you the first to know it's raining? Do you fear going into the loft or attic in case of low-hanging supports? Will you always fear the snow and be forced to wear a hat? When your father gives you armies to finish off a job, do you instantly rebel and try to take his place as ruler of the galaxy? If any of this is true, then you are probably bald. Now, some might consider it cool, rugged, or macho, but let me tell you the truth about hair. When you have lost it all, you will use any excuse to prop up your shattered self-image, even growing a goatee and pretending it was a choice. Even worshipping the dark gods seems like a good idea some days.
Man, he's taking so many stabs at bald people here. Asmongold would probably never be able to watch this video. Because, you know, this feels like it's directly aimed at Asmongold.
Too late for me. But it isn't too late for you, and you do have a choice. Because you can turn to Keeps, the online subscription service that cares as much about your hair as you do about your self-respect. They offer clinically proven treatments to combat the symptoms of hair loss. Treatments are delivered straight to customers' doors. Treatment plans are affordable, typically half the cost of pharmacy prices. And all treatment plans are personalized and doctor recommended. You also get a full year of unlimited doctor messaging for support. Many can see results in just 6 months, but obviously nothing is guaranteed. Whether you're looking to prevent hair loss, stimulate hair growth within reason, or just take better care of the hair you have, Keeps has you covered. Hair loss stops with Keeps. To get 50% off your first order.
I don't know if you should use it if you're not going bald. Because the last thing I need is more hair. I have quite a lot of it. If I grow out my hair, it's quite a thick fucking head of hair. I don't need more of this shit. So I wouldn't say if you just want to take care of your hair better. This is the modern TV shopping channel scam.
Go to keeps.com/Voldemort or click the link in the description. Bye, you fools. If you don't want to become evil, don't become bald. And contact Keeps today.
This is a cool ad. This is how ads should be done, actually. Here we go.
Warzone Pandarax. The Pandarax incursion took place between year 959 and 961, Millennium 41, when a Black Legion warfleet invaded the Pandarax system and captured the imperial planet of Pythos. Hidden beneath this planet's surface was a portal to the warp, known as the Damnation Cache, which Abaddon used to unleash a demonic legion upon the world. A ferocious campaign was fought by Imperial forces to recapture Pythos and close down the Damnation Cache, first in the depths of space, and then on the demon-infested surface of Pythos itself. the invasion of Pythos. In 959 Millennium 41, a Black Legion incursion fleet invaded the imperial planet of Pythos in the Pandorax system. The fleet was commanded by Abaddon the Despoiler himself, and consisted of half a dozen massive battleships, each one with enough firepower to lay waste to an entire planet, supported by numerous escort craft. The incursion fleet contemptuously swept aside Pandorax's system defense craft and moved into orbit above the planet of Pythos within hours of entering the system. What Abaddon could possibly want from Pythos was by no means clear at this time. The planet was an inhospitable death world, home to a colony of hardy imperial citizens. Most of Pythos is covered in dense jungle, which is home to massive saurian creatures happy to eat anything that moves. The oceans are inhabited.
I will never understand why anyone would actively choose to live on a death world. What could possibly be your reasons? Yeah, it makes fucking little sense to me. But there was actually something I wanted to ask, because I'm not entirely, maybe taxes are low. In the Dark Imperium book, the Chaos creatures, the demons, are finding it increasingly difficult to remain on Parmenio since the destruction of one of Mortarian's clocks. The clocks effectively serve as anchors, I think, to the warp. Is this true for all demons? Do demons ultimately need some kind of anchor in order to get in? So, for example, if you had no anchors on your planet, would a demon be able to get through into reality, or would the demon require someone to place some kind of artifact that allows for some anchoring to take place? Because I genuinely don't. I thought demons could just come through. They went in no anchor. They could only be there for a short time. Okay. And they would probably be a little bit weaker as well. Because apparently that's what happens. They lose power. Like, they're not as strong. The warp needs to punch through reality.
By equally large
just wanted to ask that.
Because of the dangers of moving through the lowlands and across the oceans, the human settlers of Pythos clustered in mountaintop mining colonies known locally as Delver strongholds. From these, they derived a precarious and meager existence, mining the precious minerals found in the planet's mountainous chains. Hundreds of these strongholds were scattered over the planet, each home to a population of only a few thousand imperial citizens. Pythos' only major city was the hive port of Attica, which was located on the coast of the planet's largest ocean and surrounded on its landward side by the aptly named Death Glades. Attica was a small spire city, with its main habitation zones located in the dome-like upper levels of the city, high above the surrounding swamplands. Travel between Attica and the Delver strongholds was carried out in dilapidated, lighter-than-air dirigibles known as sky barges, lumbering through the skies high above the ferocious creatures that inhabited the lowlands in relative safety. This, then, was the bleak environment which Abaddon found at Pythos. Within moments of entering orbit, his war fleet unleashed a pinpoint barrage, quickly disabling Attica's defenses and blasting the bastions and barracks occupied by the city's defense forces. Blood-red rain started pouring from the skies, and the massive capital ships of the Chaos Fleet launched scores of Dreadclaw drop pods, which disgorged hundreds of Chaos Space Marines. Dozens of squads of Khorne berserkers, supported by hunting packs of Forge Fiends, led the assault, slaughtering the defences in a mausoleum of gore. Surprised, demoralized, and having already suffered heavy casualties.
Not you, though, Abaddon, but Abaddon. I fucking hate him. Demons can only visit reality, not settle there. This is not true for Space Marines, though. Like, the traitor Marines, they can enter reality whenever the fuck they want, right? Because technically speaking, they are still mortal, right? It's not like they're completely ethereal and have no bodies except for what is given to them within the warp. That's probably why the Chaos Gods needed them. Because without them, it would have become incredibly fucking difficult. So long as they haven't sacrificed their whole body for warp power.
Attica's defenders broke almost at first contact. The only formation able to organize any kind of effective resistance was the 183rd Catachan Jungle Fighters Regiment, stranded on the planet while en route to the Maelstrom. And even they were only able to hold out for a few hours before being forced to conduct a fighting retreat and escaping into the surrounding swamplands.
Is this where those Rambo-looking guys come from? This is it, right? This is where the Rambo fighters, the normal humans, but they're so fucking good, they actually are able to fight Space Marines. Boy.
Within 36 hours of Abaddon's arrival, Attica was claimed in the name of the Dark Gods. The Blood March. The Catachan Jungle Fighters that had escaped the city were forced to battle their way through Pythos' predator-infested jungles, harried all the way by Black Legion murder squads. It is unlikely that any other Imperial Guard troops could have survived such a march, and even the Catachans suffered dreadfully throughout the ordeal. Battling their way past ambushes, fighting off attacks by massive reptilian monsters and voracious man-eating plants, the Catachans finally reached the relative safety of the Olympax mountain range, just 150 miles to the east of Attica.
Dude, that must be fucking horrible.
They based themselves in all-out attack by the Black Legion. Mysteriously, however, they were allowed time to regroup. Although the Black Legion continued to harry the Catachans, no serious attack on them was undertaken, and this gave the Imperial forces time to link up with each other. Although the largest concentration of Imperial troops had been located at Attica, all of the Delver strongholds had their own garrisons, and, in aggregate, these troops numbered in the tens of thousands. Colonel Deathstrike, commander of the 183rd Regiment, and now de facto Imperial Governor of Pythos, quickly began to organize these widely scattered forces, using commandeered sky barges to gather a sizable army at his base camp in the Olympiax Mountains. Within a fortnight, he began planning offensive operations against the Chaos invaders of what he now considered to be his planet. The Damnation Cache. What Colonel Strike could not possibly know was that Abaddon had been far from idle. Unbeknownst to any of the Imperial citizens on the planet, Attica was built atop a hellish gateway known as the Damnation Cache. This gateway was a small but terrifyingly stable portal into the warp, through which demonic legions could travel into the material realm. Once it was captured, Abaddon would be able to summon forth a tide of wrathful demons to overwhelm the remaining defenders of Pythos, and threaten the hundreds of Imperial planets nearby. In the dark days of the Horus Heresy, vast numbers of demons had emerged from the Damnation Cache to fight against those who had remained loyal to the Emperor. Following Horus's defeat, the Damnation Cache was sealed, and in the centuries that followed, it disappeared from history. Only the demon-hunting Grey Knights retained any knowledge of the portal.
But how the fuck
so it was
not
that when Pythos was reclaimed as an Imperial colony in Millennium 33, none but the Grey Knights, the Chaos Guards, and the few surviving Chaos Space Marines that had fought there in the Heresy knew of the horrors hidden beneath the planet's surface. However, Abaddon was one of those Traitor Legion veterans, and immediately upon his arrival on Pythos, he began the task of breaking through the wards that had been set on that infernal gateway thousands of years before. Disabling the wards was no easy task. Dozens of Abaddon's most powerful sorcerers struggled to weaken the seals, sacrificing hundreds of Atticus citizens in bloody rituals of unbinding as they did so.
Fuck me.
One by one, the ancient bindings broke, until finally, just over a month after Abaddon's warfleet had first appeared in the system, the last ward was broken, and the damnation cache was unsealed. Immediately, the portal into the warp reopened, and a tide of demons gushed through, rampaging out of Attica across the planet, and surging towards Colonel Strike's composite army.
I genuinely do not understand how anyone can be full chaos, man. Like it boggles my mind how you can, like, I get it, everyone has preferences, but as a human being, how you can read the Warhammer 40k lore and not immediately feel an intense sort of camaraderie with your fellow humans. I don't understand it. Like, when I hear how the demons are fucking flooding through and the shit that Abaddon is doing, I hate him. I hate everything about this. They should have destroyed this portal. Are there actually people that like Abaddon? Does Abaddon get played by a lot of people on tabletop? Like, are there Abaddon loyalists, so to speak?
This time, the Catachans and their PDF allies were at least at combat readiness. But nothing could have prepared them for the tidal wave of destruction that the opening of the damnation cache had released. A desperate struggle erupted on the lower slopes of Mount Olympiax, as wave after wave of demonic creatures crashed against the bastions and defense lines of Colonel Strike's camp. Only great heroics and terrible sacrifice prevented the base from being overrun in the first assault. Even so, it was clear to Colonel Strike that defending the newly established base camp could only result in the destruction of his entire command. Huddled together.
Yeah, but I want to say, though, Benny, that whole thing of, you know, the warp is the only way for, or chaos is the only way for humanity to survive the war, that sounds very similar to the lie that was fed to Horus. Because the way they managed to convince Horus to join the chaos was to basically show him the future of how the Emperor's humanity is going to be just an absolute cesspool of you know, bad shit happening. What they didn't show Horus is that it would look that way because he joined chaos. Like, he would be the reason humanity was in that position. So I would argue that's probably the same for Logar and the others. They believe that the Emperor lied. They believe that the Emperor how can I put this? They believe that the Emperor created this bad situation that humanity finds itself in right now, and that the only way for humanity to not have this bad situation would be for them to join the chaos. The Emperor lied for a very specific reason. Gilliman actually explains that very well, where Gilliman finally understands why the Emperor lied to them. Because Gilliman, in the first Dark Imperium book, Gilliman sort of curses his father for not telling them about the Chaos Gods. He curses his father for not informing them and not helping them. But then, in the second book, Gilliman finally understands why his father had to lie. Because if you were to tell a normal mortal about chaos, that would be all that they could think about, was the demons and the Chaos Gods. And that would give the Chaos Gods strength. Because the more you think about them, the stronger they become. And the more likely it is that you would fall to them. So by not knowing about them, there's a much better chance that you would not feed them, and therefore, they would not gain so much power over you. That was the Emperor's reason for not telling his children about the chaos. And from that vantage point, it actually does make a lot of sense.
Together in a single location, they were an easy target for the overwhelming hordes of demons pouring forth from the damnation cache. Bitterly, Colonel Strike ordered the troops under his command to split up and retreat to the hundreds of Delver strongholds that were located all over Pythos. He knew that while no single settlement could resist attack, the sheer number of strongholds and their scattered location offered the best chance of some Imperial forces surviving until reinforcements arrived. If, that was, reinforcements arrived at all.
That would be so scary.
Battlefleet Demeter. Although Abaddon's initial attack had been terrifyingly swift, he could not stop all messages calling for aid from being transmitted. High atop Attica, the desperate defenders had been able to hold out long enough for an astropathic distress signal to be sent streaking through the immaterium. Despite the efforts of covens of Chaos Sorcerers aboard Abaddon's flagship, the Black Legion were unable to block all of these signals, which continued to be broadcast until bloodthirsty assault squads of Khorne berserkers were finally able to smash their way into the astropathic chamber in Attica's central spire. The Pandarax system lies a short distance to the galactic south of the Maelstrom in the Demeter sector. Lying so close to Huron Blackheart's realm meant the Demeter sector was in high state of battle readiness and could react to the attack quickly. Immediately upon receiving the distress call, the closest reserve fleet in the sector was ordered to the Pandarax system. Meanwhile, transport was arranged for the 19th and 27th Imperial Guard armies as the massive resources of the Imperium swung into operation to
How many mortals are in one such army?
This scene is really sad. The last Guardian is a Sologrim who is friends with a Psyker. He refused to let the Chaos Marines through and slew many of them before he fell.
Shit, okay. But, okay, my question though. In one of these regiments, like the 187th or the 213th, how many mortal souls would be in one such regiment? Are we talking hundreds of thousands, millions, billions, or trillions? It can't be trillions, because how many humans are there? It won't be, like... Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be a majority, because it's just, there's millions in a regiment. Hundreds of thousands to millions. Okay, so it is a lot of soldiers, but it is normal mortals. So what brings humans into the lands of the warp is the miserable lives of much of humanity. For example, one of the most famous dishes of 40k is compressed human meat, where Slaanesh can offer you divine food and the best wine imaginable with succulent pastries. Slaanesh only offers you that until he gets you.
Motorized have less soldiers and more tanks.
Yeah, you have the tanking legions as well. That I kind of know now. Although, let's be real, the tanking legions also have thousands of tanks. It's not like it just, we have about 100 tanks. It's like thousands of them. I was 4 years old on how to load a gun and shoot. Yeah, but still, most of them barely see war before they die.
repel Abaddon's invasion. Battlefleet Demeter's reserve fleet was under the command of Lord Admiral Orson Kranzwar, aboard his flagship, the Revenge. He was highly experienced, having fought numerous actions against Red Corsairs raiding fleets, though his background would offer little benefit against the overwhelming force of battle-scarred opposition he would encounter in the Pandarax system. Over the coming weeks and months, his fleet would fight in some of the largest space battles.
Grofile? Do you want to be reported for heresy? I'll fucking do it, bro. I will fucking do it. You take that back. You take that fucking back. In reality, the Tau stole our tech. We're just stealing it back. That's actually what happened. And that's the Inquisitor truth of the matter. I will not have any of this bullshit fucking Xenos crap. I don't want to hear that. Yes, they just get the Inquisition too. Exactly. The stolen stealth tech in the new book. Can we not steal tech from a baby race?
Wrong. Corpse starch is not compressed human meat. It's mushrooms which are grown on human bodies on overpopulated planets. Less overpopulated planets don't even have that. However, there's a real human meat rations. You want to know who make that? Chaos cults called corpse grinders.
Fucking sick, bro. This galaxy, someone said in chat, this galaxy is so dark. Magister, do you not know anything about the Warhammer 40k universe? Because you sound like you're saying that almost surprised. You've not seen anything, bro. This is a Sunday afternoon in the Imperium. Oh, look, the Chaos Forces are attacking. I guess we'll go fight a war again. I have read exactly 2 Warhammer books so far, right? I'm busy with this one. Page after page after page is war. There are no love stories. There are no beautiful moments, you know, where they're stopping to smell the roses. It is literally going from one grotesque fuck to another grotesque fuck. It is insane. Just this universe is... they don't lie. They do not lie when they say, in the grim dark of the far future, there is only war. That is the truth. I'm very much a novice. Magister, welcome. It gets rough here. I would strap the fuck in if I were you.
Since the Gothic campaign. The first omen of what Battlefleet Demeter would have to endure in the coming months occurred as soon as the fleet entered the Pandarax system. The 129th Imperial Destroyer Squadron was ranging ahead of the main fleet and had just begun to pick its way through the asteroid belt that fringed the outer reaches of the star system. As they did so, they were subjected to a lightning-fast attack by Iconoclast destroyers hidden in the belt. 2 Imperial ships were lost, and the Chaos Squadron escaped unharmed, disappearing amidst the dense asteroid belt just minutes after launching their attack. Transwa first established a base on the tiny planet of Gaia, located on the edge of the Pandarax system. With his lines of communication secure, he then began...
Just for anyone that might be watching this for the first time. That ship that you see there, this thing, most of them are like miles long. It looks small. It looks like a normal spaceship. It really isn't. I don't even know if this is an Emperor-class ship, because the Emperor-class ships are fucking huge. But I think in the Dark Imperium at least, something like the Macrag's Honor, for example, and some of the ships in that regiment, you're talking about 25 miles in length. Like from the one bit of it from the front bit to the back end, 25 miles of ship. And then it can be 10 to 15 miles in breadth. It is huge, the shit. DJ, how you doing, fam?
It is a Gloriana class ship, Gilliman's.
A Gloriana class ship. And yeah, then you would have the Emperor's class is the biggest, right? Because the Emperor, it's like for example, the Emperor Titans, the Emperor class Titans are like giant fucking things. You were working on music. How did that go, Shirley? If you can, here we go. Okay, hold up. Let's see here. So you have the Navy. Here you go. So you have Apocalypse class, Emperor class, Nemesis class fleet carriers, Oberon class, Retribution class, Victory class, Vanquisher class, Abjugator class, Invincible class, Falcon class, and Greya class. Then you have Grand Cruisers. Why don't they have the sizes here? Jesus, there's a lot of ships. Probably have to click on them to get the actual sizes. Let's look at what the largest, like, battleship is like. The Apocalypse class. The Apocalypse is widely believed to be the precursor of the Retribution class battleship. The technologies to construct multiple lance turrets on the Apocalypse have been forgotten, resulting in the gradually dwindling number of these ancient vessels. Some naval strategists believe that these ships were created to deal with the threat posed by the growing number of grand cruisers and battleships from the Eye of Terror, a role at which the Apocalypse excels. The Apocalypse has no other primary ornament than its lance batteries and its mighty Nova cannon. However, despite its seemingly limited armament, it is able to reduce enemy ships from escorts to large capital ships to blazing hulks within a frighteningly short period of time. These lance arrays normally operate at medium ranges but can undergo a special engineering process to reach much further. However, such procedure can produce a power array conduits to be very unreliable and drain power from the ship's main drives at an alarming rate, making the Apocalypse sluggish in the midst of battle. Don't give sizes. Why would you not give sizes, bro? That's what we want to know. Near the top is a size chart? What do you mean near the fucking top? Is it at the top or is it near the top? A size chart. That's history, that's origins. Anchor war fleets. Dude, where? What type of inverter do you have to keep your stream on and your gaming PC during load shedding, if I may ask? Jake Reaper, I have a 5 kVA Growatt inverter with a 5 kilowatt battery. And it does pretty well. It keeps the power on for about 4 to 5 hours without any electricity coming from outside. Vessels of the Imperial Navy subtitle?
Don't check the wiki. It's very unreliable.
The vessels? Dude, what the fuck are you talking about? I don't know. I don't see shit. Yeah, sure. Number 3. Oh, you're talking about this? So you basically have to go down here. Okay, here we go. Here's the size chart. Bro, what are you doing? You're hiding it. They're fucking hiding it, man. Like, someone need to talk to these guys.
Emits better.
Yeah, but it still doesn't give me an exact size ratio. Yeah. Little annoying, not gonna lie. Because I really wanted to know what the sizes were. Here we go. So here you have the Retribution class battleship, which is 5 kilometers, almost 6 kilometers long. These things are huge, dude. Like, these things are not fucking small. Imagine if you saw a 5 kilometer long ship. Like, how would that make you feel? Like, that is just surreal.
And to mount a series of raids and attacks into the asteroid
I don't know how many feet. How would I know
intent on
this?
clearing a path to Pythos. In the following weeks, a series of increasingly brutal conflicts were fought in and around the asteroid belt, earning it the nickname of the Adamantium Fields, due to the myriad hulls of wrecked ships that floated there. At first, the ships of Abaddon's fleet held the upper hand, inflicting heavy losses on the Imperial flotillas as they repeatedly attempted to pick a way through the asteroid belt. However, in the long run, this was a campaign Abaddon could not hope to win, as the material superiority of his adversary and the willingness of the Imperium to accept stunning losses to break through to Pythos slowly but surely eroded the strength of the Chaos Fleet. Slowly the tide began to turn, and Abaddon was forced to commit ever more ships to holding Transwar in check. It was at this point that Abaddon received vital assistance in the form of a raiding fleet of Red Corsairs.
Raid Corsairs?
None can
what is
say
that?
if this came about because Abaddon and Huron Blackheart had agreed to aid each other, or simply because the Red Corsairs were drawn to the Pandarax system by the lure of conflict. Just as a giant megaloshark of the Pythosian oceans is drawn to injured prey by the scent of blood in the water.
What are these raiders?
In any case, the outcome was the same. Combining their strength, the Chaos Fleet swiftly drove the Imperial ships out of the adamantium fields and back towards their base at Gaia. As they did so, the dispersed squadrons of ships belonged to the two sides gathered for a final space battle of such scale that it will be remembered for 100 generations. The Battle of Pandarax, year 960, Millennium 41. Lord Admiral Transwar knew that he was in a dangerous position. Although the number of escort vessels under his command roughly matched those in the combined Chaos fleets, he was heavily outgunned and outnumbered in terms of capital ships. The only real advantage he held lay in the number of fast attack craft he had. The launcher bays of the Revenge and Stalwart gave him a 2-to-1 advantage over those carried by the Chaos ships.
Dude, tell me that doesn't look sick. And here you have the sort of breakdown of what each does. Figurehead symbolizes the Emperor and his sacrifice for humanity, calling all Imperial servants to follow his example in glorious death. The heavily armored prow serves a dual purpose, taking the brunt of incoming fire in head-on engagements and, when required, ramming the enemy. Sensor relays extend in all directions across the hull, feeding auguring data to the central machine spirit and linked scanners. Prow Nova Cannon, fixed forward-facing ballistic weapon, fires special munitions such as plasma bombs and gravity imploders at near relativistic speeds. Caliber ranges in the dozens of meters, can only be mounted on Imperial cruiser and battleship-class void ships due to apocalyptic recoil. Fuck! So if you tried to mount this gun on anything smaller than this, you would shoot and then you would end up in the sun. Or in the black hole somewhere. Because this would just punch you right backwards and never stop. Anti-ship torpedo tubes. Alright, over there. You have the torpedo exhaust vents. You have the broadside macro cannon batteries, heavy ship-to-ship or orbit-to-surface bombardment weapons firing shells the size of buildings, delivering megatons of energy with each shot, reloaded manually by thousands of deckhands pulling the titanic shells into place. Primary starfighter and gunship launch bays, immense hangars designed to host bombers, landers, shuttles, dropship supply, and combat aircraft. Dude, this shit is huge.
It's actually a gun the Imperium invented after the heresy. It's new and much better than what they had then.
Wow. So the Imperium did actually invent some stuff. Dude, this is just really well done. Like, really well done.
In order to maximize this
Super
strength,
good.
Transwar decided to hold the Revenge and Stalwart back, while the rest of his ships advanced to engage the Chaos fleet. While the bulk of his ships tried to keep the Chaos Fleet at arm's length, his 2 carriers would launch successive waves of attack craft, tasked with overwhelming the squadrons defending the Chaos ships and inflicting as much damage as possible. Hopefully, by the time the 2 fleets came to grips properly, the attack craft would have wreaked enough destruction to even the odds in the ensuing gun battle. Unfortunately for Cranswar, while his plan was strategically sound, it lacked guile. Although Abaddon was still on Pythos, commanding the ground campaign, his chosen lieutenant, Chaos Warlord Malgar Irongrasp, was a veteran of hundreds of space battles and had guessed what Cranswar's strategy was likely to be, even before his sensors picked up the positions of the ships in the Imperial battle fleet.
Fuck.
Irongrasp's ships tore forth from the adamantium fields like a battering ram, striking straight towards the heart of Cranswar's leading flotillas, smashing through the screen of Imperial attack craft. They gave Cranswar's ships no time to carry out the dainty maneuvers that he had transmitted to his command. A furious close-range battle erupted as the Chaos Fleet ploughed in amongst the ships of the Imperial advance guard, their immense rippling broadsides illuminating their flanks. Hundreds of attack craft swirled and battled across the miles-long capital's ships, while squadrons of escort vessels engaged in deadly close-range gunnery battles. Cranswar desperately ordered his ships to disengage. Although they had suffered heavy damage, they had given as good as they'd gotten, and if he could just buy enough time to rearm and refuel his now depleted attack craft, the battle could still be won. The Imperial ships executed Cranswar's orders with a stoicism brought through many long hours of careful training. The Imperial capital ships, screened by their escorts, broke away from the Chaos Fleet, while the surviving attack craft headed back to the Revenge and Stalwart to rearm. However, Irongrasp had foreseen this reaction too.
I knew there was going to be a however. Oh my god, I'm so into this. It's like I'm watching a fucking movie, man. Like, Christ.
Unnoticed at the back of the Chaos Warfleet, the Might of Huron, a Slaughter-class cruiser, fired up the huge thruster arrays which defined ships of that infamous class, and powered full speed ahead towards the Imperial carrier ships to the rear of the Imperial formation. Mysteriously, its tractors dragged a huge asteroid along behind it. The purpose of the asteroid was revealed as the Might of Huron closed with their Revenge and Stalwart. The interior of the massive rock was hollowed, and inside were hidden scores of Black Legion and Red Corsair boarding parties, supported by Dreadclaw assault pods and short-range orbital flyers. As it neared the Revenge, the Might of Huron released the asteroid, which drifted directly towards the Imperial craft. As soon as it was close enough, tractor beams inside the asteroid grappled the Imperial battleship, and chanting covens of Chaos sorcerers loosed a barrage of psychic attacks that tore down the Imperial ship's defensive shields and blinded its short-range batteries. As soon as the Revenge's energy shields went down, hundreds of assault pods were launched at the now defenseless craft, and a massive boarding action erupted amidst the launch bays and corridors of the ship. The Chaos Space Marines in the boarding parties were quickly reinforced by hosts of horrifying demons, which poured from warp portals that began appearing all across the ship. Within moments, the Revenge was engulfed in a furious battle.
How do you win that?
Leaving the boarding parties to deal with the Revenge, the Might of Huron went after the Stalwart, which was ill-suited to a close-range gun battle with a heavily armed Chaos craft. At a stroke, Warlord Irongrasp had turned the tables on the Imperial fleet, negating any advantage the Imperial attack craft might have given them, and leaving them fatally split. Meanwhile, the rest of the Chaos fleet was able to concentrate on crushing the ships of Cranswar's advance guard. Once these ships were destroyed, Irongrasp could finish off the Revenge and Stalwart, if anything remained after the brutal pummeling each was sustaining. As Admiral Cranswar took personal command of one of the security battalions, he knew that his command was almost certainly doomed to destruction. He offered his soul to the immortal Emperor, for it would take a miracle to save his fleet.
In the ship? Jeez. All right.
A rock and a hard place. It was at this vital juncture that the navigators in both fleets began picking up signs of an opening in the warp. Indications that one or more ships were just about to jump into the system. The navigators could hardly believe their senses. Appearing this close to a planetary body was almost suicidal. Nonetheless, the senses did not lie. Where one moment there was nothing, in the next moment, 4 capital ships and half-dozen escort craft blinked into existence. Seconds later, an 11th, impossibly vast craft appeared, one that dwarfed even the asteroid Iron Grasp had used to attack the Revenge. This mighty vessel was the Rock. At a moment of darkest despair, the Dark Angels had arrived.
Look at the size of the rock.
As the Rock
All right, quickly show me what the size of the rock is. Give me that link. The Dark Angels, boys. For those of you that don't know, this is tied to the Ultramarines for my favorite chapter. The Dark Angels. Their master, Lionel Johnson, is a fucking beast. He's an absolute beast. No, I know that's the rock. What I'm asking is I want to see an actual size chart for the rock. So I'm asking if someone can give me a link to the actual size chart of what the rock looks like how big it is compared to other things. Yeah, is there no size chart for it? So some way of knowing how big it is in terms of miles compared to other things. See the Lion versus Angron artwork they posted during the announcement? No. Have it on. Show me. Only artwork. Fuck.
There is sadly none. Only artwork.
Oh, that's actually a bit sad. The ship beneath, it looks like an apocalypse class. This one. Dude, if this is an apocalypse class versus this, what the fuck? Oh. Oh, please. It is on. Oh, shit. It is on. Angron is going to be the bitch boy of Lionel Johnson. Absolutely of the bitch boy. 25 kilometers or more. Jesus. That is huge. After this, by the way, we're quickly going to watch the Lionel Johnson cinematic again. Just want to give you guys a heads up. If you wanted to grab Cold Drink because you've already watched it too many times, I don't give a fuck. I want to watch that. I mean, yeah, they can't make the new Primarch lose. No, of course not. Angron is going to get his cheeks clapped.
Rock and its escorting craft moved to engage the main strength of the Chaos Fleet, the Dark Angels battle barge Unrelenting Fury, and 3 Hunter-class escorts swept towards the stricken Revenge. Closing quickly, Unrelenting Fury launched a volley of boarding torpedoes towards the Chaos asteroid. Just as they struck, a phalanx of Terminators teleported onto the rocky surface of the planetoid, their pale armor a beacon against the dark bulk. This was one of those rare times when the Deathwing deployed at their full strength.
Yeah, we can definitely watch
an
that
event
at some point,
unlikely
Benny.
to occur more than once in a century. They tore into the commons of Chaos Sorcerers on the asteroid with righteous fury, inflicting dozens of casualties even before the Chaos Forces knew what had hit them. Moments later, the Dark Angels' boarding torpedoes struck, and with incredible swiftness, the asteroid was engulfed in a battle of its own. Help was also at hand for the Revenge. A silvered strike cruiser arrived alongside.
Dude, this is it, right? Whenever the Dark Angels show up, it just... they're so cool. Like, first and foremost, their armor just looks fucking sick. And then they are sick. They are next level at battle. If the Lion can reunite the Dark Angels and finally get his chapter back online, Chaos is gonna have massive trouble. Massive trouble. So really, okay, so Vermintide is Warhammer Fantasy, right? I've never played it, but I've heard really good things. I still want to play Darktide. I played like 5 minutes of Darktide, but I think I should play Darktide with you guys. So, you know, we should do an evening of Darktide where we play together.
The Dark Angel's fleet, and a full brotherhood of Grey Knights materialized within the Avengers' hull to cut a swathe
The
through
Grey
the
Boys are
demon
there too,
legion
man.
swarming through it. They were soon joined by contingents of Dark Angels, aiding the defenders and stemming the tide of the Chaos boarding party's attacks. As the covens on the asteroid died, the portals through which the demons were appearing closed one by one. Hunting parties led by squads of Grey Knights.
Since he will not mention it, Great Master Azrael dealt Karn the Betrayer on the Revenge and had a draw. And then he revealed that his chapter has the true names of many demons and they collect them all and he banishes a greater one with it.
What do you mean true name?
Which is super epic.
What do you mean true name? Can a demon... Oh, wait, yeah, because if you choose a name that's different, like, that's the opposite of their true name, that's like anathema to them, right? My teacher, we're listening to you, Echo. I love that. Thank you very much, really. Happy to have you here. If you have a demon's true name, you control them. Oh. Wait, but what happens if you learn Nurgle's true name? It doesn't work for the Chaos Gods, does it?
The Dark Angels collect their true names and can banish them with them.
To control of Demon Fulgrim for a while? Okay. Doesn't work with the big boys. Someone should just kill the fucking Chaos Gods, man.
Wiped out the last of the demons lurking within the ship. Within hours, no taint of the incursion remained. Although she had been dreadfully damaged, the Revenge was saved, and would continue her vital role in the Pandarax campaign.
But no one knows the true name
All
of the
around
Emperor.
Gaia, the story was the same. The arrival of the Dark Angels swiftly turned the tide against Chaos. The first to feel the Dark Angels' avenging fury was the might of Huron, which was blasted into oblivion by the combined firepower of the unrelenting fury the attack squadron launched from the Stalwart. Meanwhile, Warlord Iron Grasp found his ships trapped between the battered but still combat-worthy ships of Battlefleet Demeter and the newly arrived Space Marine strike cruisers and escort squadrons. Surrounded on all sides, Iron Grasp attempted to break through to the relative safety of the adamantium fields, but his fleet, already damaged in the earlier battles around Gaia, could not succeed. Only half of the ships in the Chaos Fleet survived the battle, and those that did were so badly damaged that it took many years to repair them all.
You think Magnus knows the Emperor's true name? But then why wouldn't he use it?
The current story with Eisenhorn and Ravener covers the true name of the Emperor. You can indeed actually control him with his name, so it works with the big boys too.
But you have to know the true name. Unless, of course, that suggests that the Chaos Gods are actually bigger than the big boy. For the Emperor's true name? Why would the chapter master of the Custodes... There's so many interesting things happening. Like, for example, what we watched yesterday, where Psyker wanted to go into the Emperor's hall and was basically told by one of the Custodes outside, not yet, and then just turned around and left. And it's like, what? Dude, I'm telling you now, there's some big things on the horizon for 40k. Some big shit is on the horizon. That's from the podcast. Dude, you're giving the peasants a paywall pass there? Still, it's interesting. And it has to be discussed. You're right. It was actually Abaddon that told us this. Ogrim Fosfang? Yeah. So, Abaddon told us this, but this is why you should really be watching the podcast, the Patreon podcast. Because there's more to it. But, yeah, basically, in one of the new books, Psyker makes his way all the way to the throne room of the Emperor. And at the moment of entering, not Psyker, Cypher, sorry. He gets stopped by one of the custodies, and the custody looks at him, and he's like, not yet. And Cypher literally just turns around and walks away. So it's sort of like, maybe the Emperor is almost ready. Like, there's a good chance that that's exactly it. The Emperor is waiting for himself to gain enough strength and power to reawaken in the warp, or maybe just in general. But in order for him to reawaken, he needs to die on the Golden Throne. And he might actually be, like, using Cypher to kill him on the Golden Throne so that he can finally come back. Yeah,
Tragically,
boy.
Admiral Cranswar was slain when he led a defense detail against the renegades that had invaded his flagship, and he did not live to see the fruits of his victory. The triumph of the Imperial forces in space was almost total, leaving Abaddon and his Black Legion trapped and cut off on the surface of Pythos. The reconquest of Pythos, year 960, Millennium 41. If Abaddon was worried by this turn of events, he showed no sign.
But
In the months since Pythos had been invaded, the planet had become a demon-infested hell. Greater demons reveled in battle against the saurian monsters that inhabited the planet, and hordes of lesser demons marched on the Delver strongholds. Whenever this gibbering army reached one of the mountainous fortresses, it launched a furious attack, aided by contingents of Black Legion warriors and Red Corsairs sent by Huron Blackheart to aid Abaddon's forces. Although the defenders of the strongholds put up a valiant resistance, they could not hope to hold out for very long. One by one, the strongholds were overrun, and any survivors were marched.
Really? Really? My lords, this man is a menace. He disregards Minotaurium regulations. He redacted seemingly at will, and he only answers to redacted. Were it not for the gruesome death toll he exacts upon the Emperor's foes, I would recommend redacted, yet he is a deadly living weapon. He has wrought butchery on Xenos and heretics alike from redacted to redacted. He was directly responsible for the redacted incident, and on Tarloth he killed a little over 300 enemy combatants using nothing but a redacted. Unconventional, yes, heretical, verging upon it, yet through his actions, Guardsman Marbo rescued not only the governor's household, but also in retrospect the entire war effort. My lords, after long consideration, I can only recommend that you approve the deployment of Guardsman Marbo to redacted and thank the Emperor that he is on our side. I don't think he's stronger than the Emperor, but okay. I'll let you have that one.
Marched back to Attica as slaves. What the slaves returned to was not the city that they once knew. Located so close to the corrupting force of the damnation cache, Attica had changed beyond.
Crowfile. That was actually quite funny. Threw a grenade, killed 6 Chaos Marines, and then it exploded. Lol. So Sly Marbo is effectively the Chuck Norris of the Warhammer 40k universe, right?
All recognition. Strange, hideously mutated structures had sprouted from the once elegant spire walls. Most of the city had been abandoned, and the population now lived in a network of twisted underground tunnels and caverns that surrounded the damnation cache. Vile smoke and putrid vapors filled the air in the tunnels and belched out through cracks and crevices into the surrounding atmosphere. Most terrible of all, the enslaved population of the city had been struck down by a terrible plague that rendered them to shambling creatures more dead than alive. It was this grim scene of devastation and despair that greeted the victors of the space battles in the adamantium fields. Finally arriving in orbit above the planet, the Imperial fleet immediately began orbital bombardments onto the demonic armies that were assaulting the Delver strongholds. Squadrons of Marauder bombers intensified the bombardment, aided by Xerxes' airborne support wings and Dark Angel's Thunderhead and Talon of Vengeance
has
squadrons.
to be Exterminatus, right?
Abaddon's forces were driven back by the overwhelming aerial barrages, allowing companies of Space Marines and regiments of Imperial Guard to relieve the defenders, many of whom had been fighting continuously for over a year. In a brief ceremony, Colonel Strike officially handed over command of the Planetary Defense Force to Commander Azrael of the Dark Angels. Colonel Strike refused all orders to join the other high commanders in the orbiting battle fleets, preferring to return to the fray in his specially modified Baneblade, Traitor's Bane, so that he could fight against the invaders who had cost him so many men. However, although the tide was turning, the Chaos armies continued their relentless assaults on the Delver strongholds. No sooner was one strike driven off than a new one would begin. Abaddon's tactics changed. Instead of making overwhelming and methodical attacks against the strongholds closest to Attica, his legions, supplemented by hounds of Huron raiding parties, attacked wherever the defenders were weakest. No matter how Azrael organized his forces to react to these attacks, he could not always arrive in time. Many smaller strongholds were overrun and their populations enslaved. It quickly became clear to Azrael that firefighting in this way was leading nowhere. He had to strike at the source of the problem. The damnation cache itself would need to be recaptured and resealed. In truth, the Grey Knights accompanying the Dark Angels had been arguing for just such a strike ever since the fleet had arrived over the beleaguered world. Although the Dark Angels harbored a bitter hatred for Abaddon and his allies, Azrael argued that the first priority of the Emperor's armies on Pythos was to shield and protect the planet's citizens. Therefore, the Delver strongholds should be saved before Attica was attacked.
Is he Salamander?
It was only when it became clear that Abaddon's forces would continue to launch sporadic attacks against the strongholds, no matter how well protected they were, that Azrael was forced to change his tactics.
No, but Dark Angels don't do the green shit, do they? Samarwa lost his virginity before his father and was born in a Katajan hab he built himself. Of course. Top Dark Angel.
No, he is the top Dark Angel.
Oh yeah, the dark green. Okay, because this... I don't know why this looks a little bit almost salamander green to me. Seven Raven, how you doing? No, Blood Angel's different thing. The Salamanders, on the other hand, they're the green boys that I have no time for. I don't like them. They're just too goody two-shoes bullshit.
And he protects civilians because they are really heroes.
Wing Years is Dark Angels always. Ah, so the Salamanders don't have the red wing ear thingies.
Assault on Attica, year 961, millennium 41. Once the decision was made, the Imperial forces acted quickly to bring the Emperor's wrath to their demonic foes. The assault on Attica was announced by a massive orbital bombardment. The once gleaming Spire City toppled to the ground, and the surrounding area was pounded into wasteland by the combined firepower of the Imperial fleet. In the wake of the bombardment, Thunderhawk gunships and drop pods crashed onto the ravaged battlefield, disgorging the full strength of the Dark Angels chapter, supported by the Grey Knights who had saved the Revenge. Even the Black Legion and the hordes of demons at Abaddon's command could not resist such a hammer blow, and they were quickly driven underground by the fury of the Imperial attack. The second wave of the assault swiftly followed. Scores of orbital transports landed around the bridgehead the Space Marines had established.
Wait.
Disgorging.
He's using the wrong picture here. This is that other guy, no? This is that... what's his name? He was the Imperial Regent, but a normal mortal, and he actually managed to win, like, fucking so many battles. He was just next level. Can stand, but that ugly bone color. Alexander the Great in space. Yeah, that guy. For 3 to 4 years, there has been a lot of movement in 40k and a lot of possibility around the future of the Emperor. That it is thanks to Voldor, the subsume to the King in Yellow. Lehman Russ disappeared for thousands of years. Jagatai Khan lost in the Wapeway. Korax, who tracks Lorgar in the Vulcan warp. Who could resuscitate thanks to his artifacts, the return of Gilliman and the Lion, and even Alfarius, following the relation of the book, Alfarius, head of the Hydra. Solar Macarius is the name, Solar being his rank. Yeah, that guy. This is the wrong picture for that, though.
Regiment after regiment of Imperial Guard onto the steaming mire left by the orbital attack. Colonel Strike was one of the first to land amidst the ruins of the city. The hoary survivor had been given command of the Imperial Guard assault army by Azrael himself, and was determined to see the campaign to its brutal conclusion. The Imperial Guard regiments arrived not a moment too soon, as wave after wave of vile demons poured forth from the ravaged underground tunnels, having scented blood. Many Imperial Guard platoons and their accompanying armoured support had only just mustered in their position at the perimeter of the bridgehead when the demon horde struck. Las guns and battle cannons tore gaping holes in the charging ranks of demons, but as one infernal creature fell, 10 more stood ready to take its place. Soon the whole Imperial front line was engulfed in a terrible melee, as Guardsmen and Space Marines battled furiously against creatures spawned by the warp. Bayonets were fixed and chainsaws activated in a desperate defense against the talons and blades of the demonic host.
You know what they need here?
Then
they need those mask-wearing cunts. What are they called again? Vraks. This is where you need those Vrak boys. Yeah, the Krieg. You need the Krieg now. They would fuck these demons up.
The guns of the orbital Imperial fleet fired into the warp-spawned horde. The massive macro cannon shells and strikes of their lance batteries smashed into the ground dangerously close to the hand-to-hand combat being fought all around the bridgehead. Each titanic blast lifted scores of bodies into the air to fall amongst the swirling combatants. Even as the warp-spawned demon horde could not withstand such hammer blows, and against the massed firepower of the fleet, the attack faltered and finally stopped. Around the implacable Space Marines, the weary, wounded guardsmen drew breath, relieved to see tunnel mouths empty and quiet. All around the bridgehead, the ground was covered in the slowly dematerializing remains of more than 100,000 demons. Within an hour, the bodies were gone, returned to the realm of chaos that had spawned them. They left the battlefield eerily barren, strewn only with Imperial corpses and the blackened shells of wrecked tanks. The Underground War. With the bridgehead established, Azrael began the grim task of clearing a path to the damnation cache itself. The underground tunnels and caverns were defended bitterly by newly summoned demons and Chaos Space Marines under Abaddon's command.
Can I just get some quiet, desperate damnation for Minoir? Dude is actually a Wordbearers fan. Like, actually. It hurts me a little that this is the editor of the Clips channel. It kind of hurts. I'm not gonna lie. Kind of hurts, bro. I'm not. I hoped you had a little bit more class than that, man. Like, really, Benny, you too. You can go fuck yourself too, bro. But Word Bearers, but Logar has a nice arc in Horus Heresy. Yeah, until he's dead. That's basically the only arc that matters. As long as his entire story arc ends with Gilliman cutting his head off, I'm happy with Lorgar being whatever the fuck he wants to be.
But the Imperial attackers were implacable. The cave system was vast and incredibly complex. Tunnels branched and intertwined, some of them narrowing, so that even infantry could only advance in single file, while others were so massive that they formed vast underground caverns, large enough to allow Deathstrike Vortex missile batteries and hunting packs of Warhound Titans to bring their long-range weapons to bear. Unnumbered battles and firefights were fought within the Stygian darkness below Attica, but slowly, yard by yard, the Imperial forces battled their way through the darkened tunnels. As they closed in upon the damnation cache, the demons and Chaos Space Marines were joined by shambling hordes of mutant zombies. They were the surviving remains of the once proud citizens of Attica, enslaved ever since Abaddon had captured the planet, and now horrifically transformed by the warp effects of the Chaos Portal. Gritting their teeth, the Imperial attackers forged on through the foes, every step taking them closer to the damnation cache itself. Even though the situation around the cache was becoming increasingly desperate, Abaddon continued to launch raids on the Delver strongholds, even leading several of the attacks personally. Azrael, however, no longer allowed this to distract him from his purpose. Spearheaded by the Dark Angels and Grey Knights, the forces of Chaos were driven ever further back, until the damnation cache was almost in Imperial hands. However, just as Abaddon seemed defeated, a fresh flotilla of Red Corsairs raiders suddenly appeared in the system. Breaking through the Imperial cordon, they rendezvoused with Abaddon in the jungle, and their orbital transport craft quickly evacuated the surviving Chaos Space Marines from locations scattered all over Pythos.
So, DJ's ready. Okay, so what you saw there is Plague Bearers. I believe it's what they're called. And technically they're zombies, but they're actually demons because they are Nurgle's offspring. Or Poxwalkers, yeah. They're from Nurgle, who is a chaos god, and they chant shit and just they're basically, they're not actually mindless as you would expect a zombie to be, but their numbers are sort of the overwhelming thing. But they are literally the cannon fodder. So there's millions of them. You get turned against your... So basically, this is just my understanding from reading the Dark Imperium books. If you want to serve chaos, you have to accept chaos. Except for Poxwalkers. Because Varys never accepted chaos. Varys never made the decision to follow Nurgle. He got bitten by a fly, and that eventually festered and turned him into a Poxwalker. All other chaos beings have to accept Nurgle's gifts. He calls it his fucking gifts, so that you can enter the garden. But yeah, it's weird. Yeah, I did move. DJ, the warp exists, so the Chaos Gods have somewhere to hide from Slime. Man, when you're still on the Slime Marvo jokes, Jesus, how many do you know, bro?
Although the Imperial fleet was able to destroy some of the Red Corsair transports, the majority made it to the ships hidden in orbit and escaped.
Ogrim,
Hours later, an Imperial assault seized the damnation cache, and the Grey Knights began the arduous process of re-establishing the wards that would seal it once again. The Pandarax incursion had finally been defeated, but at huge cost. Aftermath. In the wake of Abaddon's escape and the resealing of the Damnation Cache, the Dark Angels and Grey Knights left Pythos. Colonel Strike was left in command of the 2 Imperial Guard armies that had taken part in the Reconquest, and has been fighting a decades-long campaign to cleanse the planet of any lingering demonic infestation ever since. Although the Damnation Cache was resealed, the damage it inflicted was severe, and many minor warp rifts still need to be closed. The war carries on to this day.
I would just exterminate
Why
this
Abaddon
bitch.
attacked the Pandorax system remains a mystery. However, there are recurring rumors that his aim was not one of conquest, but of discovery. It is said that the ruinous power sent Abaddon a vision which revealed that, hidden among the population of Pythos, he would find a powerful psyker whose latent abilities would ensure victory in his coming crusade against the Imperium. Decades later, the Dark Angels heard whispers that a mysterious psyker of prodigious power had ordered the capture of an artifact known as the Hellfire Stone. These rumors were confirmed when a Dark Angel's force clashed with Chaos Renegades searching for the artifact on the Imperial planet of Bane's Landing. In his sanctum, Azrael remembered the campaign he had fought against Abaddon all those years before. Perhaps, he thought, as he made the connection, Abaddon was not defeated on Pythos at all. Perhaps he had left because he had acquired exactly what he had been looking for.
Dude, this Voldemort is a fucking genius, man. Holy shit, by far, he probably makes some of the best videos I've ever seen on YouTube. Just fucking hands down. Like, some of the best videos I've ever watched in my life.
Actually, Abaddon has been denied by a founding member of the Grey Knights BTW.
What do you mean denied? That's a literal based word-bearer video on YouTube. Slime Marbo never washes. Dirt is too afraid to touch him. Should hire him for some audiobooks. He would actually be very good at reading the audiobooks. That's very true. He would actually be very good. Feinster, I absolutely agree with you. But no, I'm not watching any more Warhammer videos now. I told you guys I'm in the mood for some weird shit.
In 1966,
I told you I'm in a mood for conspiracy. So this morning, while I was having coffee on the beach, I was part of a conversation about this specific topic. It's some conspiracy about the Denver airport, right? There's something going on with the International Denver Airport. Now, as soon as they told me about this, I knew I had to come to the Y-Files. Because the Y-Files is probably, like, the best channel for conspiracy theories on YouTube, because he goes through the entire conspiracy. He then tells you what can be proven, what can't be proven, and he leaves it sort of up to you to make up your own mind as to what you want to believe. And I love this shit. So, yeah, this is what we're going to be fucking watching.
it's just a matter of time before it happens. Some catastrophic event that wipes out a large percentage of the Earth's population and forces the human race to reset. Maybe one of the 30,000 near-Earth objects being tracked by NASA finally hits the Earth, causing an extinction event on par with what wiped out the dinosaurs. Or Earth's poles finally shift, and without its magnetic field, the planet is exposed to the raw destructive power of the sun's radiation. Or maybe on his deathbed, a dictator decides to go out in a blaze of glory and launches his entire nuclear arsenal. It's just a matter of time before one of these or one of another dozen doomsday scenarios plays out. And when that happens, world leaders like the President of the United States and Vice President will be immediately taken to underground facilities designed for this event. Key members of Congress and the military will also be taken to secure locations. But what
I love how the presidents and the key members have their own bunkers, but not the people. There are no bunkers for the people. And what's interesting about that is, what's the president, like, what the fuck is Joe Biden gonna do if the entire human race has been wiped the fuck out? Live for another 4 years before he dies without being able to repopulate the earth in any way, shape, or form? Surely, the better people to save would be the ordinary folk that could potentially repopulate the fucking earth, right? Not the president and his generals so that they can, what, wage war against themselves because everyone else is fucking dead.
What about civilians? There are facilities around the world designed to house many thousands of people, but who gets saved while the rest of us are left behind?
South
Who
Africa
makes
doesn't
that
have any of
decision?
these facilities.
And
What are
where
you talking
these
about?
facilities? Well, I don't know where VIPs go if they live in Europe or Asia or Australia, but in the United States, those chosen few, they go to Denver.
What do you mean?
The mysteries surrounding the Denver International Airport began before it was even built. A new airport was something Denver didn't really need and couldn't afford. Stapleton Airport was conveniently located and could easily handle the traffic. In fact, in the early 1990s, Stapleton Airport was expanded. Yet a decision was made to decommission Stapleton and build a brand new airport 25 miles outside the city, in the middle of nowhere, with only one road in or out. So plans were made, bids were taken, contractors were hired, and the problems began. When DIA opened on February 28, 1995, construction was 16 months behind schedule and $2 billion over budget. The final cost of the airport was $4.8 billion, almost double the original estimate. The airport itself sits on a 53 square mile complex, twice the size of Manhattan. This is almost twice as large as the next biggest U.S. airport. Now, being that at the time it was only the 20th busiest airport in the country.
Do people really need to go to Denver that often? Why do you need that large of an airport?
This amount of construction and money spent seems like overkill, unless the construction project includes something more than just an airport. And that's when people started noticing things about DIA that didn't add up. Construction workers themselves were confused. Contractors were hired, fired, and hired again. Nobody seemed to know why. Teams knew what they were working on, but very few people knew the full scope of the project. A complex network of tunnels was built underneath the airport. Officially, this is 6 levels, but some workers said it's deeper than this, though nobody can say for sure. 5,300 miles of fiber optics were installed for communication. Now, that's enough cable to go from New York to LA and back. A fueling system was built that can pump 1,000 gallons of jet fuel per minute. This is way overkill for a commercial airport. Runway 16R/34L is almost 3 miles long, the longest runway in the country. This is also overkill for a commercial airport, unless you're planning to land even bigger planes, and lots of them. All airports are surrounded by barbed wire for safety, but the barbs face outward to keep people out. For some reason, at Denver Airport, the barbed wire was installed the wrong way. It's designed to keep people in. 5 large buildings were built, and after they were completed, they were covered up. The official report is they were built in the wrong place. These buildings range from 7 stories to 15 stories tall, but rather than demolish them, they buried them. That's very suspicious. Also suspicious is the 40-foot wide tunnel that was built to connect these buried buildings to the rest of the facility. 110 million cubic yards of earth had been moved for the underground structure, way more than required. For comparison, that's about 1/3 the amount of earth moved to dig the entire Panama Canal. So people did the math. That would be enough earth to account for a tunnel to another facility like Cheyenne Mountain Complex near Colorado Springs. Cheyenne is a bunker that, in case of nuclear war, will serve as a major command and control center for the United States military. Many more construction anomalies were noticed by workers on the project, but nobody had enough information to connect the dots as to who would be building a massive underground facility and for what purpose. But as various parts of the airport were completed, hints of something sinister started to appear. For example, when the runways were completed, people took notice that from the air, they formed the shape of a swastika. Concerned locals suspected that Denver International might be something more than just an airport. So when DIA finally opened, people looked for clues that might indicate that it was built by a secret group with a secret agenda. And the clues are everywhere. When Denver...
I just want to point out, the whole swastika thing is actually very misleading, because the swastika that the Nazis used was actually a redesign of the original, what we would probably call swastika, right? Hitler redesigned it so that it had a bit more of an ominous look to it, like what we would call today very ominous, but it actually has a lot of sort of throughput in Buddhism, as you just said. Freemasonry uses a lot of swastika symbols as well. It's actually not that rare throughout history for swastikas to turn up. The Nazis just used it because it is such an iconic thing, and Hitler obviously just changed it a bit. So it wouldn't be weird if we imagined that this was something designed by the Freemasons or by the Illuminati for it to go on there, because it is one of their symbols. It's something that they use. I believe it was actually one of the symbols used by the was it called the Roman Club or something like that? It's like one of their symbols.
International Airport finally opened, it didn't take long for people to realize this place was unusual. The first thing you see when you arrive on the property before you even enter the building is the Blue Mustang. This is a 32-foot tall, 9,000-pound statue with visible red veins and glowing red eyes.
I looked, and behold a pale horse. Its rider's name was Death, and hell followed with him. Revelation 6.
I know it's Revelation. Some people believe the statue symbolizes the fourth horse of the apocalypse, so people started calling him Blucifer and believed that he was cursed. Now, this might sound silly, but Blucifer killed his creator.
Whoa, what?
The artist, Luis Jimenez, was killed in a freak accident when a piece of the horse fell off and severed an artery in Luis's leg. But the creepier artwork is inside the airport. Denver must be the only airport in the world that features gargoyles in the baggage area.
What the hell are they doing there?
Well, the artist, Terry Allen, said they're there as protectors. And throughout history, gargoyles were placed on buildings to scare away evil spirits.
And scare away human children.
Right. And even scarier are the murals painted around the airport, like this one.
What the is this? This is in the airport?
This is the first of 4 murals by artist Leo Tanguma. This is called Peace and Harmony with Nature. And we've got children in coffins, extinct animals, a forest on fire, in the back a city burns. A child holds a Mayan tablet depicting the end of the world.
Yeah, nothing says have a great flight like dead people in coffins.
Yeah, this isn't the kind of artwork you want to see if you're a nervous flyer waiting on your connecting flight. Well, here's another mural.
Yeah, come on, you're making this up.
Nope. Like the runways and the murals, there are references to Nazi Germany all over the place. Here we have a Nazi wearing a gas mask, holding a rifle and slicing through a city with a sword. At the end of the sword, a dead dove, signifying the death of peace. There are children lying in the rubble.
Dude,
on the
what
left,
the
citizens
fuck
flee the
is
city.
this?
A mother cries while cradling the corpse of her dead child. In the lower right is a poem written by a child who died in a Nazi concentration camp.
This is terrifying. A terrible idea to put these pictures up in a place where weed is legal.
I know, talk about a harsh buzz. Now, to be fair, there is a second half of this painting. Here we see children from every culture in the world carrying weapons and the flags of countries to this little German boy in the center.
Ho. So all these countries disarm and surrender their flags to the little blonde-haired, blue-eyed German boy, eh?
Exactly.
And nobody sees a problem with this.
Guess not.
Hello, this is a picture of a one-world government and a new world order.
Oh, you're not.
I'm glad to see the South African flag is there. Fuck. Usually people forget about South Africa, but this is kind of weird. This is kind of weird, not gonna lie. I mean, even if you don't look at conspiracy, just why would you paint this? Apocalypse is not about reaching. He's literally covering all of the, like, all parts of the conspiracy. So He goes through people suggest conspiracy theories to him, and he then goes and he collects all of the evidence from what everyone is saying. And then eventually he does get to the point where he talks about the evidence. So when you really look at it and you go ask the artists, for example, and stuff like that, and so he's not reaching, he's literally giving you all the information. You just need to make it up as you go along, right? My last name, Surali, is from South Africa. Surali. I don't think I've ever heard that. You had me until gargoyles in this art? I wouldn't say, why would you not believe that this art is something? This art is at least fucking problematic. Especially considering the fact that look at all the artwork everywhere. So look at this artwork, for example. This is weird. Why would you have this in an airport? I would say this is actually the part where he really got me interested. Because up until this point with the artwork, I was like, can be a lot of things. It's government building an airport. The chances of them going over budget, very fucking good. The chance of them completely fucking it up and making a lot of mistakes, very good. It's government after all. So none of those things really bothered me. But now we get to this artwork and I'm looking at this and going, this is weird. Why would you have to, why would this even be a thing?
What up?
Well, you're not the first one to make that connection.
Well, of course not. Not everyone's a sheep.
So people started looking for clues as to who was really behind the airport project. Here's a clue that's extremely obvious. This is the airport dedication plaque.
Freemasons, of course.
Right, the Masons were involved in the dedication. But look at the name under the date. New World Airport Commission. Now, if you're already worried that a shadow government is trying to implement the New World Order, this is pretty unsettling and on the nose. Nobody had heard of the New World Airport Commission. What do they do? And why are they involved with the airport and with the Masons? And most importantly, who is behind this secret group? Naturally, concerned citizens looked into the organization.
And what did they find?
And they found that the New World Airport Commission doesn't exist. Ever since civilization emerged, there have been people trying to control it. Julius Caesar, Alexander the Great, Attila the Hun, Napoleon, Hitler.
Kanye West.
Well, aside from Kanye, these were dictators, tyrants who crushed dissent and brutalized their enemies. They ruled through cruelty and fear. The people behind the New World Order don't operate openly. They operate in the shadows and pull the strings of the world's leaders. In the Middle Ages, this group was suspected to be the Templar Knights. In the late 18th century, there was a secret society called the Order of the Illuminati, which you probably heard of. There are other secret societies rumored to be this ruling elite, but no secret society comes up more in the discussion of the New World Order than the Freemasons. The Masons need their own video, and if you'd like to see that, email me or let me know in the comments. But the gist is this: the Masons project a public image of piety and charity, but secretly they have a hidden political agenda to bring about a one-world government ruled only by Masons. And you can see symbols of the Masons everywhere if you look. The Masons' Eye of Providence is on US currency. On the capstone at Denver International Airport is the compass and square. Now, even though the airport opened on February 28, 1995, the capstone was placed on March 19, 1994. And if you add up 3/19/1994, you get the number 33. The number 33 is very significant in Freemasonry. It's the highest degree a Mason can achieve, and that number is everywhere. Again, the Masons need their own video. Now, how about the mural with the Nazi? That's a very unusual sword for a soldier, unless you're familiar with the ancient Arabic order of the Nobles of the Mystic Shrine. That's a Masonic order known as the Shriners, and this is their symbol. And the gargoyles in the baggage area? They're coming out of Samsonite suitcases. Samsonite is
completely down, because it's not down on my side. It's back. Yeah, the Freemasons tried to shut me down, but good old Jeff Bezos stepped in and he was like, no, bro, that would be too obvious. You guys need to stop that. So my theory on the Freemasons, and I want to be clear before I even go too deep into this. If, very big, capital fucking letters, if the Freemasons is indeed a secret organization that is trying to take down, freedom and is trying to set up this one world government and all the rest of it. Now, I want to be clear. I do think that there are individuals like that. There's always been individuals like that. And I do think there are a number of people out there that do dream of a world that they believe would be better for everyone, that might want to do it, right? And might want to exact some kind of plan in order to get it done. I'm not sure how far they could go. I'm not sure if they could even succeed, but there might be people like that. The question would become then, how much power do these people actually wield? Are these people that do have the ear of governments, or do they not? It's just human nature. There will always be people that want to control other people. That's why dictators have always existed, whatever the case may be. But if it is true that the Freemasons do indeed have this plan for what it wants to achieve, I don't think your average member of the Freemasons would have a clue about what is actually going on inside. On the face of it, the Freemasons would go around looking like just another normal business organization. I have a friend, for example, that is part of the Freemasons. And the reason he joined is because of business. It's very good for business. You make a ton of money when you're in the Freemasons, because if he, for example, he makes bricks. He has a giant factory and they make bricks. All of the people that's part of the Freemasons that build buy their bricks from him because he's a brick maker. He gets so many contracts from government, so many contracts from other people. So it really does help to be part of that group and grow, you know, and from that perspective, I can understand why he wanted to join. But obviously, if the upper echelons, so the people that is on level 30, level 32, level 33, if they had some evil plan to overthrow the world, they're not going to share that with the, you know, average member of the Freemasons. Why would they? It would be far too dangerous. You know, two can keep a secret if one of them is dead. There's a reason why that saying exists. Secrets are notoriously hard to keep. So you're going to want to keep it in the upper echelons. So that would be my theory if we believe that the Freemasons are indeed evil. I'm not saying they are. I'm just saying if it would be a case of only a small handful of people that are in the upper echelons of the Freemasons would actually know what is actually going on.
It's also a time capsule set to be opened in 2094.
What's in it? Gas masks and MREs?
Well, not everyone agrees. Some people think it's a bomb. Others think it's an entrance to an underground bunker that can be opened by touching the Braille plaque in a specific way, like a keypad. Masons passing through the airport have been seen holding their membership cards next to it to see if it opens. Now, officially, the time capsule contains a newspaper, baseballs from Coors Field, coins from the Denver Mint, and a pair of Mayor Wellington sneakers.
Wait. The mayor threw his dirty sneakers in a hole?
Yeah, I guess he thought that was a good idea.
Can you imagine what dirty sneaker funk smells like after 100 years?
I'm trying not to. By the way, the mayor was a Mason.
Of course he was.
Now, part of the New World Order / One World Government plan is population reduction. But how exactly will they reduce the population? Well, the answer to that question is right under our feet.
Now, this, I would say, isn't actually a conspiracy theory. There are a number of organizations out there that genuinely believe that population needs to be reduced. Even King Charles of England, in an interview once said that the human population needs to be reduced. There's far too many humans on Earth. It's not, I don't think at this point that's a conspiracy anymore. There's more than enough groups out there that believe there's too many humans and they need to get rid of most of the humans on the planet. The numbers tend to be where the problem comes in, because some people say it's 500 million, other people say it's 1 billion, some people say it's more like 3 billion. But I don't think that is really a conspiracy. There's definitely groups. Now, I've always said the problem really does come in when you talk about how do you do that? Right? How do you reduce the human population? And that's usually where it gets dangerous for me, because it's one thing to say, well, you know, the perfect human population would have been 500 million. I don't agree with that, but if you wanted to say that, that's fine. It's a whole different thing when you think the existence or survival of humanity requires that the population be 500 million. Because, newsflash, there's more than 500 million people. And it doesn't take a long time for one of these cunts to come up with some idea of how you could kill a bunch of people to get to that 500 million number. And that's usually the fear that I have, and that's the fear that I have with any group that wants to, quote-unquote, save the world, because saving the world almost always ends in giant casualties and a lot of people very unhappy and going through hell.
Who's behind the New World Order? The Masons?
Yes.
The Illuminati?
Yep.
The Bilderberg Group?
Yep.
Bohemian Club?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody really knows. But when the group emerges to put the entire planet under a single dictatorship, they'll need a few methods to get everyone to comply. They'll implement mass surveillance, but tell us it's for protection. They'll consolidate mainstream media into a small handful of corporations that will publish propaganda as an official narrative and censor anyone who disagrees. They'll disarm the population, eliminate religion, take over education from preschool to university, indoctrinating young people with their narrative.
But, you know...
They'll need to establish a single currency. To do this, they'll need to crash the current banking system, so the general population loses faith and places their money in accounts protected and managed by the state.
Okay, enough.
What?
All this is already happening.
Well, that depends on your point of view.
Well, my point of view is the truth.
Well,
Don't be a sheep.
let's say that eventually all this comes to pass.
Bleh.
It will be much easier to control people if there are fewer people to control. So when the New World Order is finally implemented, depopulation will be part of that plan. But you can't send soldiers out to knock off the population. It wouldn't work. They won't turn on their own people. So it has to be done secretly in a way that doesn't arouse suspicion. According to the New World Order plan, this could be done with, say, a global pandemic. I know what you're thinking. This also happened, but that wasn't caused by the Illuminati. Let's go back to the gas mask mural. Obviously, this depicts some kind of chemical warfare. Well, on the floor near the mural is this. AUAG in a mining cart. The official statement is this represents silver and gold. It's to honor the miners who helped build the city of Denver. But some point to a more sinister interpretation. AUAG is also the abbreviation for the Australia antigen, a highly contagious and deadly toxin that attacks the liver. Once unleashed on the world, the population will beg the state for help. They'll surrender every freedom they have to simply feel safe. Then this secret powerful group can decide who lives and who dies. They'll create a vaccine, but won't allow everyone to access it. People deemed undesirable will simply be allowed to succumb to illness, while the people deemed desirable will not only have access to this vaccine, they'll be forced to take it, again, for their own protection.
Look, if you don't see it by now, I don't know what to tell you.
Come on, that's not what happened the past few years.
Hello, it's called a trial run.
Well, that's pretty scary to think about. But the Denver airport...
I will say this, the thing that... So there's one of two things at play here. Number one is we're dealing with incredibly stupid people that is just giving away their plans by putting it in pictures, right? Because that's ultimately what you're doing. You have this giant evil plan of killing millions and millions and millions of people, billions of people, really, and you put it on a picture for everyone to see. Or you have people that are so arrogant that they just don't give a shit, right? They put it there because why wouldn't they? Because no one can stop them.
I am the New World Order and I wish to reduce the population of Xenos to 0. Also the all-seeing eye is obviously the Emperor. Emperor protects.
Emperor protects, bro. Definitely agree with that one. Obviously the third option is just that this is a nothing burger, right? And doesn't even matter, right? I don't necessarily know which one of those is true. I don't. I know for a fact that there are groups. Years ago, when I was much younger, my dad was part of a group called the Rapportreiers, which was a quote unquote business group in South Africa, but they had this giant obsession with symbolism You know, they had all these symbols and like weird things that they held to very high account. Like these things had to be present at every single one of their meetings. You had to bow in a certain way. You had to greet in a certain way. So there was a very high onus on symbolism. And I know that a lot of cults have the exact same thing,
I need
right?
to head out in order to have dinner. See you next week, bro.
Take care of yourself, bro. Enjoy dinner. Mr. Bonji, yeah, basically a cult. Now, my dad was just an entry-level guy, right? He joined because they basically went after all of the doctors in town. So they got all the doctors to sign up. And it was for the entry-level people, it was just a nice place to sort of meet, you know, and get to know other people in the business area. But you have to sort of adhere to some of the rules, but not all of the rules. And my dad knew a couple of people, like you would see the sort of higher ups walk in and bow before certain statues and greet each other in certain ways. And it would always happen the exact same way. And so it can be that these guys are so deep into the occult that they believe symbolism to be important. We know this happens because Hitler did the same thing. Why did the SS have specially designed suits? Symbolism. They understood the power of symbols. And a lot of these occult type people believe in symbols. So it might be that they have to put these things in the artwork because it's sort of like speaking it to life. That would be the fourth option. Again, I'm not saying that any of these options is true. Because the truth is, I don't know. A lot of the shit is very weird. And the go-to response usually in this is you want to say, nonsense, bullshit. That's not true. But sometimes I ask myself, do I want it? Do I say it's not true because I desperately don't want it to be true? In other words, I'm biased in not wanting it to be true and therefore just dismissing it, you know, straight up. Or am I saying it's not true because, you know, it actually isn't true? That's a much harder question to ask yourself and to come to an answer. I don't really know. Lack of faith or religion in general has left holes that always filled by something else. Very true, Mr. Bungie. Can't have a weekly MDT, you guys. Phil forgot the special bronze nipple clamps again.
Port holds secrets even darker than this. And to learn about those secrets, we have to go underground. Millions of cubic feet of earth removed, level upon level of tunnels hundreds of feet down. Large buildings constructed and then, for some reason, buried. The project did go way over budget, but not if that money was used to construct a secret underground facility. And when the airport project went over budget, the government stepped in and bailed it out. There is a vast tunnel system under the airport. This is a fact. It was built for a state-of-the-art baggage handling system.
Allegedly.
No, it was. But it didn't work very well. So despite it costing $100 million, it was abandoned.
Just like the buildings that were built and abandoned?
Yep. The year the airport opened, Phil Schneider came forward and blew the whistle on the project. Phil was an engineer who worked on secret government programs, including underground bunkers. And this is confirmed. There are publicly available records that show Phil Schneider worked as a government contractor for years. Well, Phil Schneider and other contractors who worked on the airport have said the underground area isn't 6 levels deep, as is commonly known, but actually 8 levels deep. And this lower area is used as a military base and covers an area of about 4.5 square miles. Now, people have questioned why underground tunnels made of concrete would need so many sprinklers along the ceiling. This is supposed to be not just for water, but to give authorities the ability to pump gas into the common areas, gas to incapacitate people or infect people with something like the Australia antigen. In fact, it's been said that FEMA has a large area underground designed as a camp for political enemies and dissenters. And the rumors continue. There's allegedly an underground base where UFOs are kept for reverse engineering. Some people call the Denver airport Area 52. But the most disturbing rumor is that deep under the airport is the headquarters of a race of humanoid creatures who plan on enslaving the entire human race. And not only do these creatures use humans for labor, they breed them for food.
What kind of creatures are we talking about?
It's not important.
Who's eating people down there? Is it Greys? Is it the Grey aliens?
No, it's not the Greys.
Who then? The tall whites? The tall white aliens?
No,
The Serpo aliens? I thought the aliens from planet Serpo were vegetarian.
no, the creatures living down there aren't aliens.
Rob the Fool, 6 months, part of the DJ Nation. 8 months, part of the DJ Nation. Appreciate you, fam. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This is why I have such a problem with conspiracy theory. Up until now, any conspiracy theorist that believed most of these things would be, in my opinion, it would be a rational thing. Be like, yeah, I mean, I can see all of this being true. I don't necessarily believe it, but I can see it being true. There's no reason for me not to believe that it could happen. But then you come up with aliens eating people and humanoid aliens existing. And I'm like, yeah, it's a bit hard to swallow, right? This gets a bit difficult to make sense of. Because what I don't know. Maybe it's true. Maybe it is true. I'm just not entirely sold on it. Yeah, there is always a limit to where you go. Because, like I said, I do believe that there are organizations out there that do mean to do a lot of harm in the name of good. As they always say, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And if history has taught us anything, it is that a lot of good intentions can lead to a lot of bad things throughout the world. You know, you need look no further than Pol Pot or Chairman Mao or even Stalin and Lenin in Russia to look at incredible evils done in the name of quote unquote good. So evils can be done. Even Hitler is a great example of a guy that in his mind believed that he was doing the best thing. He was doing a good thing, but did incredible evil in the name of good, right? So I have no problem believing that there are really bad people out there believing that they can make the world a better place, if only, you know. But then you get to the whole, there's aliens living underground. And that's where I go, oh, shit, I mean, if true, we might be fucked. But I'm not entirely sure if I believe that.
Is it?
It is.
Lizard people!
Yep. The secret cabal planning to take over the world are not the Masons or the Illuminati. They're reptilian humanoids. Not long after revealing this information about the airport, Phil Schneider took his own life.
Oh, here we go again.
I know. And if you check our episode on Dulce Base, we cover the mysterious circumstances around Phil Schneider's death. We do know the last time Phil Schneider spoke in public about this was 1995. And at the end of the talk, he said at least 12 of his friends died mysteriously within the last few years. He felt like he was being watched and feared for his life. He specifically said that if he turns up dead, no matter what the official reports say, he was killed. And maybe this is all coincidence. But he said these things at a talk he was giving in Denver.
Well, I don't believe in coincidences.
Neither do I. Denver airport conspiracy theories have been around since before the airport was built, which is why I was surprised so many of you wanted me to cover it. But old story or not, it's still one of my favorites. But is it true? Well, let's explain what we can and then we'll see what's left. People who cover the story say that Denver didn't need another airport, that Stapleton was fine. Well, it wasn't. It was congested and inefficient. Yes, it was convenient to get to because it was downtown, but it wasn't great for the people who lived and worked downtown. Airports are noisy. So DIA was built outside the city because there was cheap, flat land away from residential areas. Now, the shape of the runway. I guess it looks like a swastika, but not a very good one. The runways are laid out this way so planes can land from any direction, depending on the weather. The barbed wire is one of my favorite little tidbits. The barbed wire is designed to keep people in. It's just so ominous. But it's not true. The barbs are vertical. They don't face one way or the other. Now, videos and articles about the Denver airport will say that the New World Airport Commission doesn't exist. Now, I thought the same thing for years, but it did exist. It was a temporary committee formed to plan the ceremony around the opening of the airport. But I will concede that choosing that name was a terrible idea. Now, the Masonic symbol is on the capstone because, well, the Masons paid for it. Now, they may be planning a world takeover someday, but in the meanwhile, Masons are pretty generous. AUAG is gold and silver. That's all there is to it.
But, it could also be.
I know it could be the Australia antigen. I know it could. But the Australia antigen is just a protein that indicates a patient has hepatitis B. Now, hepatitis B is pretty bad, but it does have a 95% survival rate. Still, exposure to just the antigen wouldn't hurt you. In fact, the Australia antigen was used to create a vaccine for hepatitis B. The doctor who discovered it actually won the Nobel Prize for this. Now, the murals are weird, no doubt. The artist wanted to honor his heritage as a Chicano descended from the Maya. He was trying to portray a message of peace.
He tried, but he failed.
Well, that's a matter of taste, but yeah, they were pretty disturbing. The murals have since been removed and are now in storage. Now, things like the murals, the horse, the gargoyles, these are all done by local artists with no direction from the airport. And I don't think the administrators of the airport were trying to give hints about something sinister. But I will say they had terrible taste in art. Now, the sprinklers in the tunnels. They're not there to spray citizens with gas. They're there because of fire code. Concrete doesn't burn, but plenty of other things down there would. The 5 buried buildings, I can't find any evidence that they ever...
See why I love this guy? Because he always starts his videos the same. And I liked seeing people in chat lose their fucking minds over this. Because then he gets to the part where he actually explains. Now, to be fair, there's been conspiracy theories where he had no explanation for some of the shit there. Like, no matter how much he researched, he could not find information. And those are usually the most insane things. But, yeah. I think the statistics of this video, like, when did people stop watching? I bet it's all over the place. Alderson, yeah, pretty much. Most people these days cannot listen to things that even remotely clash with their worldview. So, I would expect... Here's my general belief, if I were to take a guess. If you are on the left, you probably stopped watching around the first half of the video. At some point, you would have stopped. Because most people on the left, at least these days, tend to trust the government with everything. And somehow, it's also turned into a whole billionaires are good. Because they trust all the pharmaceutical companies and, you know, they're all billionaires. But I would then argue that most conservatives stopped watching around the second half of the video. Because nowadays, conservatives tend to be... And it's weird how this shit has changed. Because conservatives used to be the ones who was actually not very against government. They were against big government, but they weren't against government. Liberals, left, were the ones against government. Big or small, they hated the government. Obviously, that's shifted now. So I think around about the point where he starts smashing a lot of these conspiracies, a lot of conservative folk would stop watching. And you'd be like, oh, yeah, he's just a paid actor. Not all. Obviously, I'm talking about small minorities here. But, yeah, that would be my guess if I were to take a wild guess as to, like, just based on the people that I know, both on the left and the right. That's usually what I find. People on the right are far more likely to believe conspiracy theories involving the government being evil or planning some kind of takeover. People on the left, not at all. They believe the government is good and will only do good. And no one, whether you're left or right, likes having their worldview destroyed. No one. People fucking hate that. You should not tell people stuff that goes against their very belief, because it makes you feel uncomfortable, and that feeling can oftentimes just lead to, rather than you going, wait a second, why does this make me feel uncomfortable? Maybe I'm wrong. You just walk away from it entirely. Like, fuck that. I don't want to listen to this. So yeah, it's sort of, it's interesting.
Ever existed. Now, I'm not saying they didn't. I'm just telling you I couldn't find anything. But honestly, I hope they exist because it just makes the story that much more fun. As for Phil Schneider, he did die under mysterious circumstances. And I go into it in more detail in the Dulce Base episode. But in a nutshell, Phil was mentally distraught and made up a lot of his stories. And in that episode, I prove it. Now, I can't say that he lied about everything, but he did lie about some things. And when you do that, we have to question everything you say.
True.
His death was weird, though. Now, if there are secret tunnels down there, I'm not sure we would know about them, so we can't completely discount the idea. As you know, in case of nuclear war or some disaster, the president is taken to a bunker for COG protocols, also known as continuity of government. These bunkers are fortresses where elected leaders can coordinate military response and manage the entire country. On the East Coast, this bunker is Mount Weather, Virginia. On the West Coast, it's Cheyenne Mountain, about 100 miles south of Denver Airport. Fine, but there's something strange. In 2011, the comet Elenin was headed toward Earth. It was expected to miss us, which it did, but it had just been discovered, so NASA couldn't be sure. At the time, Elenin was between 3 and 4 miles wide, almost as big as the rock that wiped out the dinosaurs. So President Obama was rushed to a secret facility, but not Cheyenne Mountain as is protocol. Instead, the president was taken 100 miles north of Cheyenne. He was taken to Denver Airport. The Denver Airport is a difficult conspiracy to research. Not for lack of information, there's plenty of that. It's the way the information is presented that irritates me. It's condescending. If you believe any of these theories, you're a kook. You're crazy. Even the airport itself does this. Whenever they do any work inside the airport, they put up signs of lizard people and aliens and memes of tinfoil hats. The signs say they're building gargoyle breeding grounds and preparing for the end of the world. And they find this all very funny. They even installed a talking gargoyle who spits out one-liners.
Welcome to Illuminati headquarters. I mean, Denver International Airport. Did you have to buy an extra seat for your hat, sir? Sir, are you stealing a desk? Sir, you have resting, confused face.
Hey, look, those jokes aren't that strong, but when you have them come out of some creature's mouth, you can get away with it.
I'm aware. Anyway, a spokesman for the airport said this.
We have a CEO who really embraces the conspiracy ideas. We decided a few years ago that rather than fight all of this and try to convince everybody there was nothing really going on, let's have some fun with it.
Well, it's nice they're having fun, but if you have questions about the airport, they're not laughing with you, they're laughing at you. And people took notice. Some even responded to that statement online.
Cool! Instead of answering all the questions about the Freemason time capsule, the death horse you have outside, murals of slaughter on your walls, underground tunnels, etc., you make, of course, a gargoyle making fun of everything. Comedy is the best way to deflect real questions. Good job! The sheeple will fall right into your trap.
Ha ha ha, don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain, folks. See how funny this demonic statue is? Aren't the satanic global elitists so hilarious? Just keep laughing. Stay distracted. Nothing to see underneath this airport. Nothing at all. Ha ha ha.
The question that always comes up is the underground area, the tunnels. And the answer is always the same. Whether it's an official response from the government-run airport or from Snopes or from YouTubers who are much more intelligent than we are. They say there's no way anyone can be down there and go unnoticed. 1,000 people work under the airport every day. They would see something, obviously. Well, they never heard of the Greenbrier Hotel, located about 5 hours away from Washington, D.C. It's an upscale resort that's been visited by 26 U.S. presidents and European royals. In the 1950s, the hotel was going through renovations, so the U.S. government piggybacked on the renovation project and installed a bunker under the hotel.
That sounds familiar.
Doesn't it? And they didn't install a little safe room. They built a 112,000 square foot bunker under that hotel. It has 25-ton blast doors, a power plant, cafeteria, a hospital with labs and a pharmacy. It can house 1,100 people and was the destination for all of Congress in case of an emergency. And for 30 years, nobody knew it was there, not even hotel workers. In 1992, the Washington Post exposed the facility, and in 1995, the government stopped using it. Coincidentally, that's the same year that the Denver airport opened. The Greenbrier bunker had staff working there the entire time, right under everyone's nose. Some parts of it weren't even underground, and that was in a busy hotel. The area under the Denver airport is huge. So big there are emergency phones for people who get lost. To say that you can't be fooled by a secret government project is nonsense. It's arrogant and it's annoying. But this is something we're seeing more and more these past few years. If you dare to question the narrative coming out of the government or the mainstream media,
6 of 1.
Right. If you question them, you're labeled a conspiracy theorist. You're marginalized and mocked publicly. For most people, that's enough to shut them up. Why speak up if you're going to be attacked on Twitter? It's not worth it. If you do speak up, well, then they just censor you. But every once in a while, conspiracies turn out to be true. That's why I don't condescend to you. That's why I don't talk down to people who believe. I don't believe every story I cover here. I don't believe most of them. but I still want to find the truth if I can. And there have been some stories that I couldn't debunk. And when that happens, I'm honest with you about it. And if I think about the past 6 or 7 years, I can rattle off 6 off the top of my head. 6 quote-unquote conspiracies that, if you talked about them, would get you banned on social media, but they turned out to be true.
Such as?
No, I can't name them. Even though they're true, you still can't discuss them, at least not on certain platforms. But there are places online where you can talk about fringe topics, and I encourage you to do it. I also encourage you to discuss these things with your friends and neighbors, family, coworkers. If they're condescending to you, don't take it personally. They're brainwashed. They'll eat whatever mainstream media lie burger they're served.
Lie burger, huh? I like it.
And isn't that ironic? Because they look down on those of us who question authority. They try to cancel those of us who call out lies when we see them. But when conspiracies turn out to be true, and from time to time they do, it will be us who stands between the skeptics and the tyrants trying to take their freedom. And when the smoke clears and the dust settles and we know everyone is safe, I'll be the first one to say, I told you. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. My name is AJ, you know Hecklefish.
Hi there, hello.
And this has been the Y-Files. If you had fun or learned anything, do us a favor and like, comment, subscribe, share. That stuff really helps. And like most topics we cover on this channel, today's topic was recommended by you, by thousands of you. And if there's a story that you'd like to see or learn more about, go to theyfiles.com/tips.
It is fun.
And special thanks to our patrons who make all of this possible. We couldn't do this without you. And if you'd like to be part of an amazing community, check out our Discord. It's free. But if you'd like to support the channel, consider becoming a member on Patreon or grab something from the Y-Files store.
Ooh, show them the new Don't Be a Sheep mug.
I really
Show
don't.
them. Hey, look at it. Look, show them the other side. Look at it. I'm proud of this one.
We should be. That's going to do it. Until next time, be safe, be kind, and know that you are appreciated.
It was a pretty good video, right? I enjoyed it. I don't know how I feel about most conspiracies, but I do love listening to them. And I like keeping an open mind. Because my thought has always been the following. If it turns out to be nothing, right? So it turns out that nothing's going on, it's not real, you know, it's all just nonsense. Well, I haven't lost anything, right? Because why does it matter, right? I believed something and it turned out not to be true. No harm, no foul. But let's say that there is some kind of conspiracy that is really bad and could lead to a lot of bad shit. And I paid no attention whatsoever because I just wrote it off as, well, fuck it, who cares? And it turns out to be true, then I'm caught with my, you know, pants around my ankles. Because I have no idea what's going on, yet the world is coming to a fucking end and I'm not prepared for it. So I usually err on the side of, I mean, I have an end of the world kit as it is, right? I have excess food, excess water, sleeping bags, camping material, all the rest of it. And I have it, not because I think the world is coming to an end, but because I do think South Africa is dangerously close to a collapse. Yeah, I have a good knife. I have all that shit. It's only because I think South Africa is close to a collapse. My government doesn't seem to know what the fuck they're doing. And my argument has always been the same. It cost me a couple of months of having to stock up on things and spend a little bit of extra money on food and all the rest of it. But now, if something happens, hey, I'm prepared. If nothing happens, fuck it, you know? Who gives a shit? Doesn't matter. I didn't lose anything. I'm not building nuclear bunkers or anything like that, right? That would be a bit overkill for me, but I am sort of preparing myself in case of. And I always think that is probably the best way to be. Be a little prepared, you know, prep yourself to the point where should something happen, you're fine. Hopefully you never need to use it. Because I don't know if I will ever need to use it. I probably won't, but that's how I view conspiracy theories. Most of the time, though, they're just super entertaining. Prepare for apocalypse. At worst, you have extra stuff for hard times. At best, you're surviving. Rob the Fool, yeah. Especially with where the world is now. You know, you have Russia and Ukraine America, China. There's so many sort of bad vibes right now of things that could potentially go very wrong, that I think you being prepared is, at least to some extent, a smart idea. We do that in all other, like, you don't judge a business for having an emergency fund, right? So if you walk into a business tomorrow and they go, oh yeah, we have a bank account and we keep at least half of our budget in that bank account as an emergency fund, you don't go, fucking conspiracy theorist pieces of shit. Why do you need that crap? Come on, man. Spend that money. No, you go, oh shit, that's fucking smart. I should probably do that with my business. We don't punish people thinking ahead, but then if you prep, people are like, oh my God, look at this prepper fucking conspiracy theorist piece of shit. Lol. And it's like, it's kind of the same thing as an emergency fund, right? Guys, we need to build a spaceship and get the hell out of here. I don't know if I would leave, though. I don't want to leave. Because where are we going? We're going to Mars? Fuck that. I don't want to go to Mars. It's too far away from Earth. There are no good gaming servers on Mars. So, no thanks. Unless you could suggest a place where the gaming servers would be online and I could play video games, no problemo. If I can't play video games there, I don't want to go there. Look, if I can't play video games, life's not worth living. It's as simple as that. Like, if you tell me, hey, bro, we're going to do this, we're going to survive, but there's not going to be games in your lifetime ever again. I'm like, well, fuck it. There's no point in living. Then I take my chair, I get up on the roof, I sit down, have a beer, and I watch the end of the world roll in. Here we go. I'll watch it in style, go out in a blaze of glory, as it were. Fuck that. Oh. I took martial arts for 2 years. I can do weapon combat to make me feel safe. That's good. That's good, DJ. Current science has a hypothesis that our brains and consciousness actually creates time and space. So we are the builders of a simulation while being stuck in it. Time is a concept humans make to make sense of the world. Yeah, time... Who said this? I saw a theory on this the other day. Time doesn't technically exist. Because time really is just the speed at which you cross a specific distance, and then we measure that in time, but time, as it were, isn't really a thing, because time is relative, right? There's no fixed time. There's no, this is time, and this is how time operates. It's an abstract unit of measure, since it's relative to our planet's rotation. Yeah. Morning, how you doing, bro? Videos on it. If you stand still, you don't experience time. Alex is on fire. No, not quite like that, but a good example of this would be, if you got on a spaceship, right, tomorrow, going to Mars, that journey, let's say that journey took you 4 years to go, right? So it doesn't take that long, but let's imagine it took you 4 years to get to Mars. You would experience it as about 2.5 years. We would experience it at 4 years. And that would be genuine. Like, genuinely. If you were to count the days that you were on that spaceship, you would be like, right, that's 2.5 years I'm at Mars. We on Earth would be like, nah, fam, that's more like 4 years you've been gone. Because time doesn't actually exist. It's just, we use time to help us make sense of our universe. So what is a day? Well, a day is 24 hours. Not really 24 hours, but 24 hours closest, right? And the only reason we do that is so that we know where we are, when we need to sleep, when we need to go to work, kind of to bring order to the universe. But technically speaking, that's not really, like, a day isn't really 24 hours. There's no such thing as hours. It's literally just the Earth's rotation. that causes day and night cycles. We just sort of add something to that because of lack of planetary gravity. It has to do with speed as well. So time on a moving object moves much slower than time when you're standing still. Or is it faster when it moves? No, time on a moving object is slower than when you're standing still, because the closer you get to the speed of light, the slower time will move for you. At the speed of light, I believe time is absolutely 0. So if you moved at the speed of light, time would literally stand still for you. I mean, theoretically speaking, if you could move faster than the speed of light, you would probably be able to travel back in time, theoretically speaking at least, because you would quite literally go into negative time at that point. Of course, moving faster, this is actually something that was so wild to me. You can't move faster than the speed of light. Because if you moved at the speed of light, light would still be moving faster than you. Because light moves at, like, the movement of light is relative. So I don't know how many thousands or millions of meters per second it is that light moves, right? But if you moved at that speed, light would still be moving at that speed away from you. Femtocore camera that is filming so fast it can film light in motion. Jesus. Full JB Peterson. Order within chaos, within order, within chaos. In string theory, one of the theories is there is only one electron in all of time and the universe. I do not like string theory. And I'm not an expert on this, but I hate string theory. And the reason I hate it is because of Einstein. So Einstein believed that a theory cannot be true. How did he put this? I'm trying to remember. He believed that science should not be overly complicated. That was basically his takeaway. If something becomes too complicated, then it's most likely not true. So that was one of the bases for why he disagreed with Newton. Because Newton had all these complex mathematics on sort of figuring out where all the planets were. And then 2 of the planets didn't make sense, and Newton sort of went, well, that has to be God, because they couldn't figure out the math. It annoyed Einstein, because as far as he was concerned, if you could not come up with a simplistic way of explaining something, then it's most likely not fucking true. The problem with string theory is that it invents, and technically it doesn't invent, but it does kind of invent multiple dimensions, right? I think we're up to like 11 or 12 dimensions now, and you need all of these dimensions in order to explain even half of the fucking shit that exists. And just none of it has ever been proven. Not a single thing that string theory has ever predicted will be there has been there. It's not there. They can't find any of this shit, and yet the string theorists keep going. They keep getting shit tons of money, and they're completely useless. You lied to me about the Q&A, waiting for it like a game release. Mankind Jack, what do you mean I lied to you? We had the Q&A on Friday. Watch a video on YouTube, God is a virus. It's going to blow your mind. Anathemas, how you doing, bro? I'd happily watch that. Watch this. 150 in.
Bullet and take this packet of photons and fire into this bottle. How will those photons shatter into this bottle? How does light look in slow motion? Now, the whole event,
That's pretty cool, that.
now remember, the whole event is effectively taking place in less than a nanosecond. That's how much time it takes for light to travel. But I'm slowing down in this video by a factor of 10 billion so you can see the light in motion. But Coca-Cola did not sponsor this research.
Of course they did.
Now, there's a lot going on in this movie, so let me break this down. And
It's really cool, that. It's really fucking cool, that. Thing is, Einstein, no, of course Einstein wasn't right about everything. Einstein spent the vast majority of the last years of his life trying to unify, which ended up being nothing. So I'm not suggesting that Einstein was correct in everything. I'm just saying I like his perspective on science. I do not believe that the universe is overly complex. I do not think that you need to invent 11 different dimensions in order to explain our universe. I don't think so. I think our universe can be explained far more easily with far more simplistic ideas than 11 different universes just for one thing to fucking exist. So yeah, I don't... The other problem is that a lot of string theory is built on mathematics. The problem with mathematics is there is literally an infinite number of things that you can predict using mathematics. Whether that's true or not is a whole different discussion. Because you can almost make math do anything you want it to do. And that is genuinely the truth. Like, math is not the... People love sort of quoting math as being this be-all, end-all. You can change math in whichever way you want, and it will predict whatever the fuck you want. I actually watched a guy prove mathematically that 1 isn't 1. He then went on to prove that 1 plus 1 isn't 2. And he proved it mathematically. So it is, like, you can do pretty much anything with math. At some point, you also have to put a little bit of logic in there and be like, I don't know, fam. If I have 1 apple and I put another apple next to it, that is kind of 2 apples. I don't know how that can be anything other than 2 apples. So I'm pretty sure 1 plus 1 is 2. I'm fairly certain of that. Logic dictates. The problem with string theory is I think the logic has sort of left the fucking building. The rationale has left the building, and they're just sort of purely playing with the mathematics. Because when I said that they invented dimensions, that's not what they did. They didn't just magically invent a bunch of dimensions. They followed the math. And the math kept showing that more and more dimensions is needed because the math created more and more dimensions, and then they just kept creating more dimensions. And now we're up to, like, I think 11 or 12 dimensions. ChatGPT, that 1 plus 1. Fuck. Okay, remind me next week, guys. We have to do some ChatGPT stuff, because I actually finally got into ChatGPT, right? And I asked ChatGPT to write me a World of Warcraft theory. You know what it did? It said, it wrote a theory, it wrote a story about Alexstrasza of the Red Dragonflight and Nalfarian of the Black Dragonflight getting into a war with each other, right? Now, I did not ask this thing to make up a story. I asked it to write a script using World of Warcraft history. And it decided to come up with a brand new fucking story because they got into a war and they were fighting each other. And the reason they were fighting was because, and this it got right, it said Alexstrasza of the Red Dragonflight, their charge was over life and protecting all life in the universe. But Nalfarian and the Black Dragonflight, their charge was to protect magic and the use of magic in the universe. And I went, do you mean Malygos? And ChatGPT just went, no, no, he said something about, no, it's not Malygos, it's actually Nalfarian. I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure you're talking about Malygos, and I asked for a theory involving the red and the black dragonflight, but never fucking mind. So we should definitely do a bit of chat GPT next week and see if we can come up with a really cool YouTube theory for World of Warcraft lore. Update 2021, so have that in mind. Any news after that is, yeah, but Spectre, when you're talking about red and black dragonflights, this is lore that's very old, right? Like, this comes from 10 plus years ago. More, actually. At the very least, this comes from 2019, right? At the very least, there's information from 2019 already about the red dragonflies. If it's not even longer ago. But yeah. That could potentially be true, because doesn't the black protect everything as a whole? Not quite, because the protection of magic very specifically is the blue dragonfly and Malygos. Deathwing or Nalfarian and the black dragonflight, they were the warders of Azeroth as well as the protectors of the dragonflights. But they were never given charge over the magics of the universe. In fact, it's sort of explicitly stated in 10.07, 10.1 that, you know, Deathwing sort of played with tools that he had no idea how to wield, and he did not reach out to Malygos to help him out, and that created a lot of problems for him. Malygos Blue are about arcane magic, though? Well, arcane is sort of the basis of all magic, Rob the Fool. At least if my speculation is correct. I believe that all magic comes from arcane. Arcane seems to be the flowing force of magic, and then it's utilized by different specs differently. So Foul, for example, is unstable arcane. When arcane becomes too unstable and chaotic, it becomes foul. I believe elemental magic, even Rob the Fool, is arcane magic, just in a different form. So where arcane magic would be order magic, because that's usually what the Titans use to create order, you could say that when arcane becomes life, it turns into an elemental magic instead. My theory is that arcane is the underlying magical force of the universe, and everything else sprouts from arcane, which is why it is such a good stabilizer within the universe. The first life forms in WoW were elementals, so where would arcane come from if it was first? Because arcane is that. It's just, arcane can become anything. Yeah, it's like the cosmic egg yolk. Exactly. It is the cosmic egg yolk. It keeps everything else together, and it become different things. So it's not just, arcane isn't just one thing. It's sort of lots of things, right? And it can be anything. It just depends on how you apply it. At least that's my theory. So arcane is the battery behind all forms of magic? I think so, Rob the Fool. I have this sneaky suspicion that that is what arcane does. That it is what it is. And the reason I come to this conclusion is the amount of classes that use arcane-based abilities, or at least have something. So druids, for example, are supposed to be pure life, and yet a lot of their abilities are arcane-based. Foul directly counters arcane. Scorpius, I don't think anything is its own thing. That's sort of the basis of the theory. I don't think anything is its own thing. I think arcane is just the purest form of magic. But if you, again, there's so much going into this theory. Even mages can cause incredible devastation using arcane. And if a mage uses arcane incorrectly, it starts to act very similarly to foul. So you can be a mage, and if you use the arcane incorrectly, it starts looking a lot like foul. So yeah, there's more that goes into it, but I don't think I have time to go over the whole theory. The fall came from the conflict between void and light, according to whom? Rob the Fool. According to the Titans. I don't have to tell you. I don't trust the fucking Titans at all. Fall is unstable arcane energy. That's the reason that the Well of Eternity got corrupted through overusage. Blood elves that become addicted to arcane, like demons that do foul. Yeah, there's a lot of similarities between arcane and actually a lot of life or magical forces in the universe. But that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna go grab some food now. I want to eat. I want to chill. I want to watch Lord of the Rings because I'm still not done with that. Because last night, while I was watching the Twin Towers, I got distracted because I suddenly sort of went down a rabbit hole on YouTube about what would happen if Sauron actually got the ring. That was about 4 hours of YouTube, because it ended up being like a million different things. I ended up watching like who the Maya actually were, where did Gandalf come from. So I didn't even finish the movie. It was a nightmare. But that's usually how it goes when I watch movies like this. Lord of the Rings, exactly. Apocalypse. I went through a massive black hole of Lord of the Rings content. It was super fun, obviously. But yeah, that's sort of what I was busy with last night. Have you seen the Barbie movie teaser trailer? Do I look like a teenage girl to you, bro? Like, Mankind Jack, what are you asking? Why would I watch the Barbie movie trailer at all? I have no interest in that. Is Barbie even a thing still? I feel like Barbie is sort of... Most people are over Barbie now, no? DJ, that's good, actually. Dolls are weird as fuck. I don't know. I've never been into dolls. I've never really been into like these little GI Joes as kids. Like, a lot of my friends had these GI Joes and they would play the fuck out of it. I never got into that shit. Just never felt the need. Anyways, fucking, I'm gonna go grab some food, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. To all of you, thank you so much for spending your evening, your morning, your afternoon with me. It's been an absolute pleasure, as always. I don't know if I'll be back this weekend. Like I said, it's Easter, so I want to first wish all of you a very happy Easter. If you celebrate it for, it's a historical event, then I really hope that you have a great time with family and friends and your religious holiday. If you simply celebrate it as Easter eggs, then I hope that you have some amazing Easter eggs. And I do want to ask you, why don't you send us some pictures over on Discord of your Easter eggs if you're buying any? Because I'm sort of teetering right now on the brink of, should I have a proper Easter weekend like I used to have as a child, or should I not do it? Because as a child, we would usually get like a shit ton of Easter eggs, and you would just the whole weekend fucking eat chocolate and just be fucked as a result of it, right? Because it's Easter eggs. You kind of, once a year, you kind of have to do it. I mean, you can send pictures of your hairy testicles. I don't know how the mods would feel about that, though. You might get deleted. But, hey, more power to you. If you can get it past Apocalypse and the others, no problem. My grandma already has an entire bowl full of colored eggs. Nice, Minoir. Fucking nice, bro. I made dragon eggs in honor of DF. You see, we don't make our own eggs here. At least not in South Africa. I've never met anyone that makes their own eggs. I'm talking about the proper... You know when you go to the shop, right, and you buy those marshmallow eggs? Do you guys have that? Those eggs with the marshmallow in the middle, or the white candy-coated chocolate egg. Do you guys have that, or do you not have that shit? You have to have those. They're like the greatest thing ever. Oh my god, are you for real? Not a cream egg. What are you talking about? Gonna show you. I'm gonna show you what it looks like. This is what we have in South Africa on Easter. So this is the white eggs that I was talking about. It's got a candy coated outside and then a chocolate inside. You can watch it there, right? So there you see it. It's got like this candy coated outside and a chocolate inside. Very good. And then this is probably my favorite thing ever. This right here. Chocolate on the outside, marshmallow on the inside. This is like the best thing on Easter. Absolutely. It's just candy. We dye eggs? No, we don't dye eggs. Why the fuck would you do that? Like, you have proper, like, eggs. You could probably have cream eggs, but I don't have cream eggs often. The other thing that I like, but I haven't had that in years, is these bunnies. Like chocolate bunnies. They're very good. No, that's... Okay, so there's a difference. Oh, is a moon pie not similar to a sweetie pie? No, we don't dye eggs, Abiwar. Because we definitely don't call them moon pies. These things are called marshmallow eggs. Because that's what they are. If you're asking about a sweetie pie, we have these things. This is available all year round. This shit. Right? So it has like a... is there a bigger picture? Probably this. It has like a wafer bottom, marshmallow center, and then chocolate on the outside. That's a sweetie pie. I don't like those. You guys are weird. Why would you dye eggs? This is the only eggs that we have in South Africa that I know of is these chocolate eggs. Like, you go to the shop and you buy yourself some chocolate eggs. We don't dye our own eggs. What the fuck's the point in that? You can't eat a dyed egg. It's just egg. There's nothing special about that. Painting your own eggs would also be boring as fuck. Like, I might as well just be playing a game. Why would I paint an egg? What's the point? I don't understand the point of this shit. You can hide them and entertain kids by letting them find them. You could hide these chocolate eggs as well and entertain kids by finding them. I still didn't paint shit. And the eggs are hard-boiled? Don't you know people's traditions? You can't. Fuck your traditions. South African tradition is the only thing that matter. And that means chocolate eggs. You eat, but you paint the eggs for competitions, etc. And you do egg rolling, where you hard-boil them and take them to school for games. It has no traditions. Fuck you. We have traditions. This is our tradition. Buying chocolate marshmallow eggs and chocolate candy-coated eggs and eating them. Just look at how beautiful that looks. Just look at that. It's gorgeous. Your ancestors from Germany are turning in their graves, shitting on the traditions. I have genuinely never seen anyone make their kids paint eggs. You think the Cadbury eggs are much... Actually, I'm inclined to agree with you. The Cadbury eggs are a lot softer than the Beacon ones. They go down a lot better. You don't have to... Like, these Beacon ones, you have to suck for a fucking age to get them soft. So you can actually eat them. Whereas the Cadbury ones is just pop in your mouth. Takes like... Fuck. 20 seconds and you can just eat the shit out of it. What's this? Actually, that's actually not bad. Well, boy, how you doing, fam? Your ancestors are from Denmark, right? Or Netherlands? Isn't South African Dutch? No, my ancestors are German. That is an Easter egg, you fuck. No, it's not. This is just an egg that you fucking painted. Sucking is right up your alley, Akko. Hey, if it's a hobo, I'll suck it. No, but wait a second, Apocalypse. Isn't that the reverse? Like, if I said... I won't say it now because that will almost definitely get clipped. But if I said, right, to get it hard, that would have been clippable. But sucking it for ages to get it soft, that's not fucking clippable. Because that's not the point of sucking. If you go down and suck a dick and it goes soft in your mouth, you're not doing a good job, are you? It is, if you're a pessimist. Jesus. So you just have to have a get-going attitude, right? Not with that attitude, Jesus. Fuck. Well, technically speaking, you could be doing an excellent job, right? Yeah, you were fast, like really fast. Oh, these are also very good. They have coconut on them. Like, it's chocolate-covered marshmallow eggs, but with coconut flakes on them. So good. So good. What else do we have? We don't have, like, Easter isn't the way it used to be fair. I'll be more, I mean, that could be true too. That could definitely be true too. Although I guess if you're, I mean, if a dick suck's a dick suck, very few people are going to complain about that. You know, even if I don't know who the fuck you are, I'm getting my dick sucked. It's not complaining. Never look the gift horse in the mouth, I like to say. And in this case, it's quite literally apt. It would fit. It's only a yoke. Oh, shit. Only this community gets from Easter eggs to sucking cock. That's why I love this community. Everything and anything can be sexualized. Oh, look at this cheesecake. Have you ever had this? Foul Smoke, Cesius. A marshmallow cheesecake. Dude, that looks phenomenal. That crust looks really good. Nice and thick. I should try and make that. That could be really fucking good. Malva pudding? No, Malva pudding is still the best thing ever. Cheesecake is also good, but cheesecake is not Malva pudding. Don't even start with this bullshit. I don't have time to argue with you fucks. Oh my god. You should do a cake streaming? I will never stream myself baking cake, DJ. I suck at baking. I am super bad at baking. Cooking, no problemo. Baking, huge problemo. It's difficult. I don't like baking because you have to follow the recipes exactly. And I don't like recipes. I like just sort of doing whatever the fuck is my kitchen kind of thing, or whatever I saw at the shop. And you can't do that with a cake. Because you might say, well, I won't use 4 eggs, I'll just use 2, and then your cake doesn't fucking rise. And you're like, what the fuck just happened here? This is now a bread. Or flat bread, really. So baking cake, we want you to fart on cake with a candle on it lit, explosions and stuff. That's a whole new level of fucking fetish, bro. That's a weird fetish to have. What's wrong with you? Fucking bastard. No, I'm kidding. Love you, Albior. Fuck it. Guys, I want to go eat. I said goodbye, like, almost, what was it, 10 minutes ago? And we're still here talking about bullshit. I want to go eat. All right? Chat. So take care of yourselves. All right? I love you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. I won't be raiding Pyromancer, DJ. I haven't spoken to Pyromancer in a really long time. So yeah, won't be doing that. Wait, is Sebi on? Sebi isn't on, is he? Nah, Sebi isn't on. Fuck. Would actually be nice if... Hey, we could raid Soul. I don't think we've ever raided Soul. Have we? Ah, but he's playing WoW. I don't think he's ready for the pure disgusting shit that is you. No, I won't do that to other streamers. I won't unleash you guys on other streamers. I'm gonna love you guys and leave you guys, right? I really appreciate all of you for coming out, for hanging out, for spending your afternoon, your morning, your evening with me. It's an absolute pleasure as always. I might be back in the weekend. I might not. I don't know how it's gonna go. We'll see how I feel. If I'm not in an absolute fucking chocolate coma, because I don't eat chocolate often. Actually, I haven't had chocolate in a really long time, but I kind of want to do it just this weekend because it is Easter weekend. We'll see. And all depending on family and stuff. But yeah, I do love you guys. So I will see all of you. If not this weekend, then definitely on Monday. All right? Ladies and gentlemen, have a lovely Easter weekend. Enjoy your family time. Enjoy your egg painting. Enjoy your chocolate eggs. Have a great time. I love all of you. Peace out, fam.